Welcome in another edition of the Dirt Racing Podcast. Let's get started.
Welcome back into the Dirt Racing Podcast, where this is part 2 of our big episode looking back at the interviews of 2019. In this, we'll have some young guns and veterans and writers, and talkers, and then, of course, the Chick Magnet segments. Anyways, my guest right now is Wayne Johnson. How are you doing, Wayne?
I'm doing great. Just trying to get settled in for the evening. We had a big long weekend in Jackson, a big long drive home, so just kind of getting a little bit of relaxing at home a little bit here.
How was those results?
Well, we didn't win any races, so we definitely would like to have seen a little better finishes. But race car was really fast. We just had no luck, to be honest with you. We had a flat one night, and just track position big at Jackson. It's hard to pass there, and just nothing really went absolutely perfect. But these days anymore, you got to have a perfect night to win races against the competition that's out there nowadays.
You looked good at Knoxville back on season championship.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with both cars. We didn't finish the 360 race. We actually broke a motor, but we got I think we got up to top 4 there. With about half the race to go. Thought we had a chance of winning that race, but we broke a motor, and then we ran second there with a 410 to Gio Selzy, and he's been really tough this year. He's won a couple all-star races. He's been really tough, so felt real good about that because our 410 program has been off pretty bad for the last couple of years, but really feel like we're gaining on it now.
Where's your next race at?
Well, right now we're in limbo. We're not really sure what we're going to do next. We're working on some stuff to try to figure out what we're going to do for the rest of the year. So really don't have anything set in stone. We'll know the rest of the year's schedule here in a couple of days.
I know you're a couple-time champion of the 360 Nationals at Knoxville. 13 wins overall in the 360 and 7 in the 410s. Which one was your favorite?
Oh, man. I would say probably my most memorable race at Knoxville wasn't even a win. It was, I believe it was in 2002, I believe, when I drove the Beaver car, the Beaver tool car. When me and Steve Kinzer raced back and forth on the prelim night of the Knoxville Nationals, and I ended up winning. I ended up running third, but I think we swapped the leads like 15 times or something that race. So that'd probably be my most memorable race, but probably winning that first 360 Nationals was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I remember the 2002 race very well. Nationals, if you're in the top 3, that's good.
Yeah, for sure. We won a prelim night back in 2008, I believe it was. So, that was pretty special also. Knoxville is just a special place. Love going there. I lived there in town for like 12 years. I've actually moved away now, but Knoxville's still a place that everyone wants to win.
I just love being there. It's local, so I get to see it most times.
Right. We've got to come this year more than we have in the last quite a few years. There at Knoxville, we've only bounced in maybe 2 or 3 times. In the last few years, and I think we got to come there maybe 6 times. I think this year. So, and I think one day only run 11 races or something.
I can't. It was rain, and we and we saw that even on season championship night.
Yeah, for sure. We barely got that thing in.
And I know I saw you at Nationals. I know why we're doing this episode partially is the chick magnet's supposed to be on here. Any words about Mr. Josh?
Oh, Josh, man. There's not another one like him, I promise. He loves his race, and it's amazing to me. He's such a nice guy, but it's amazing to me the following that he has already.
Are you still there?
Yeah, did I lose you?
Yeah, I'm here. I just didn't check in.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard what I said. I said
you're saying you're talking about Josh.
Yeah, it's amazing just in the first. I think he's been doing the magnet now for about 5 years, and I'd like to just. I can imagine how many followers he has, just for the chick magnet deal. I bet it's probably more followers than I have.
Yeah, and then I know he was on the tour with ASCS.
Yeah, he's got more wins than most drivers got already this year. With his team.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to do with 10 cars, though.
Yeah.
He's like the Hendricks of sprint car racing.
Tell about the fruit roll up in Mountain Dew story.
Oh my gosh! I took him when he stayed with me for a week down here in Oklahoma, and I took him to the dollar store to get some snacks, and drinks, or whatever he needed for my house here to have, and because I wanted to have what he liked. Took him, and man, he spent about $50-$60 just on fruit roll ups and Mountain Dew. Loaded basket plumb full.
Then I know you drove in. First time I ever saw you was the 1A car. The Comp U.
Yeah, the Comp USA car. Yep, that wasn't the first car that I ever brought to Knoxville. The first car I ever drove in Knoxville was back in about '94 or '95, and it was the Bobby Sparks '91 car. We came up and run my very first 360 Nationals, and we absolutely were horrible. I think we're in the E-Main or something like that on Saturday. That really is what set this trend for me to want to come to Knoxville and try to do, just try to do better and try to accomplish a win there, because we were so bad the first time we went, and I just couldn't wait to go back to try to redeem myself.
Then you drove the Twitty Bird car, the F&J Construction.
Yeah, I went from the Sparks car. Then I went to the Comp USA car, and then I drove so many different cars through the years. But then the majority, as far as big rides, then I went into the 29 car, and I drove the 29 car, 99, 2000, and 2001. And then 2002, I drove the Beaver Tool car, and then 2003 through 2008, I believe, I drove the Fat Throw Motorsports, the 14AJ.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And then I drove the H&H car, the 94 car, in, I think, 07, 08, and 09, I believe. And then in 2010 is when I got hurt. And then in 2011, I started my own team and ran my own team through 2016. And then since 2016, I've been driving the 2C racing car.
Do you really want to talk about the injury or not?
It doesn't matter.
If you didn't know the story, can you go through it? I know it, but...
Well, in 2010, I was racing in Elma, Washington, and got in a bad accident, and actually, I won't say amputated, but it was very close to having my foot amputated at the ankle. I went through reconstructive surgery for like 16 hours, and they still wasn't sure that I'd ever be able to use it for about 2 weeks. I should say about a week. And then they could tell it was going to work, and then lots and lots of rehab for about 9 months. And, still to this day, I still don't have the full range of motion that I had before the injury, but it sure beats not having it at all.
Exactly. Back to Josh. Does he ever hang out at the trailer? Is he all over the place?
Well, it depends. It's just I'm the only one at the racetrack that's on his team. He'll hang out, but if his other cars are there, he's bouncing all around. And I tell a funny story about him. If you win the race, no matter which driver you're on the team, you ain't got to worry about him finding the victory lane. He'll definitely be there in a hurry. And it's crazy because if I won the race, well, earlier that day, he might have had a David Ball shirt on. The next thing you know, victory lane, he's got your shirt on, he's there. So he must wear about 10 shirts at a time.
Did you ever win the Grizzly?
Yes. Yeah, I won the Grizzly Nationals a couple years ago, I believe.
In case people don't know, the Grizzly Bear comes out next to you.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. You get a 1,500-pound bear or whatever you want to say, however it weighs, next to you, standing within inches is not very. I didn't feel very comfortable, to be honest with you. Hell, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to death.
I seen those in Alaska, and I would be too.
Yeah, you just never know. It's a wild animal, and I had some photographer tell me, "Why are you so scared of that thing?" And I said, "Oh, because he could eat me if he wants to." He said, "All you can do is be faster than the next guy." And I looked around in victory lane on the second night. There was a couple guys I could figure I could outrun in a foot race, so I felt pretty good on the second night.
What's plans for next year? Same team and everything?
Yeah, for sure. I can honestly say that as far as Wayne Johnson and the 2C racing team is when the 2C team is done, then I'll retire from full-time racing. I'll probably keep and play a little bit here and there, maybe locally or whatever. But when Todd Kelly decides the 2C team is done, I'm going to say I'm probably going to retire also.
Okay, I have few more questions for you. Can you talk about the Tulsa track?
Tulsa Speedway?
Yes.
Man, it's been so many years ago since it was even open. But man, I don't really just remember had a lot of good memories there. We won a lot of races back in those modified days, and really enjoyed going over there. Back then, I can remember when I was younger, and we would drive to Tulsa, and it seemed like it took 2 days to get there. And now we're driving halfway across the country in 2 days. So it really wasn't that far.
And it was a weird track too, if I remember right.
Yeah, it had really long straightaways and really tight corners, but as any race car driver will tell you, it's dirt and it's round, so you just adapt to it. And but it was definitely strange. It reminds me a lot of Brainerd, Minnesota. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
no, I haven't.
It's a lot like Brainerd. It's real long straightaways and tight corners.
And then talk about Oklahoma City if you can.
Well, growing up there, they had 2 tracks. They had a half-mile and a quarter-mile. And I only ran the quarter-mile 1 year. It was my very first year. And my brothers raced on the half-mile. And I just couldn't wait to get on the half-mile. I struggled with the little racetracks for a long time because, we grew up racing on the half-mile. And when we go to the little tracks, I just didn't know how to do it. And then we really excelled at all the big tracks, like at Knoxville and Sedalia, Missouri, and I don't know, just all the big tracks. We were really good, but we struggled on the little tracks, and it took me some time to figure that out. But going back to the Oklahoma City days, man, they tore it down, and the memories have just kind of faded because I drive by there just about every day where it was. Sure have a lot of memories of mom and dad, my brothers, and all the local races that we got to race with. It's a shame that they tore it down because, man, there's a lot of memories there.
I know the promoter from there too.
Yeah, Shane Carson. Yeah,
does a lot of work for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Shane's a super nice guy, super good friend of mine. I've known him since I was a little bitty boy. And I remember watching Shane, sitting in the stands watching Shane race. Shane wasn't my favorite racer, but I really enjoyed watching him.
Thanks for joining us, Wayne.
Well, thanks for having me, Marshall.
Yeah, and I hope to see you soon, sometime next year.
All right. Well, we'll definitely be back in Knoxville as soon as they'll open up and get us a race. I'm sure we'll be back.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Wayne Johnson for being on the show.
Hello, my guest today is with Linton Jeffrey. You probably recognize Vortex Racing Products and a racer at the Knoxville Raceway. How you doing, Linton?
Good, thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about your wing business first?
Sure. Vortex is originated in Australia, and we brought it to the United States in 2000, and really released the product on the market in 2000. I spent a little bit of time in Pennsylvania before moving to Iowa solidly in about 2002. But essentially, the wings were well established in Iowa or at Knoxville before anywhere else. It's been a great history that we've been fortunate enough to have with the Knoxville Raceway, and just a lot of success with the World of Outlaws and a lot of good race teams over the years. And I'm very proud of what we've accomplished with our product.
And then you have also business relations with other people too, besides just you.
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of different companies carry our product all over the country. Kading Performance, Highlands Performance out in Pennsylvania, Bruce's Speed Shop there in New Jersey. Just a lot of good Speed Mart out in Washington. We've had product at Smiley's over the years. Also, Speedway Motors, which everybody knows in Nebraska, has been a good advocate of our products. And, apart from the race teams, we've got a lot of good dealers and distributors of our product as well. In Australia, we do as well. We have a good network there as well. Also, we have some distributors in New Zealand and Canada. So, for all the sprint car racing nations, we sort of have them covered.
Can you explain the difference to the racing over in Australia versus here?
Actually, racing in Australia is much the same as racing here. In Australia, we don't have big half-mile racetracks. About the biggest, fastest place there is. One comes to mind, but it doesn't run very often anymore. And it was kind of a bigger track. It was called Bacchus Marsh. But right now, today, we have the Kwinana Motorplex in Perth. That's probably the most professional track in the country outside of Valvoline Raceway in Sydney. They're both on a par with each other, really professionally run tracks. Everything that Barry Waldron does. He has a track in Toowoomba. I believe it's beautiful. I haven't been there. But he also has a lovely track in South Australia, Murray Bridge. So there's some great tracks. But to give you an idea, the biggest track would be about the same size as Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is 0.4 miles. And it's quite a fast racetrack, very similar to look at, sort of around the same idea of having a drag strip in the back and very big professional concreted pits and lovely facilities. So we have great facilities and great racing. The only other difference really in Australia is the cars are a little bit friendlier to drive. They have the dish wings like the ASCS 360s do, and like we used to have pre-2008 or 9 when we were sort of forced to run flat wings. So the dish wings are a bit more fun to race, and they also use the better tyres, which are the RD tyres, D tyres, and high growth light rear Hoosier tyres. So the stuff essentially where they tried to, manipulate the racing and the style of racing in the way that, they tried to free the cars up the tyres and things today. Here in the United States, those things haven't happened in Australia, and they still race the old school pre 2008. And I mean, my honest opinion is that the racing's more fun, and it's probably, it'd be great for some fans in America to go down and see, and because I think they'd probably ask for it more up here. We have such great facilities in the United States. At Knoxville, and just the level of competition puts on great racing here for sure. I definitely sprint car racing is healthy, and I feel like it's still something that people want to take their family to every Saturday night. Here and all over the country, we have great facilities up at Jackson, Minnesota. Terrific racetrack up there now. Spent a lot of money. Todd Quiring has, and that's a great place to go watch sprint cars for sure. If you get up around that area or want to make a trip, there's a race here the week after next. Going to have a 2-night show there. It's going to be fantastic. So anybody's looking for a little trip away before the cold sets in, be good to get up there and watch a great race, sprint car race up there. I think it's the weekend after this one. So.
Your biggest thing you're remembered for, and you probably get asked a lot, the interview you did at the Nationals the one year.
The one where
you got
my buddy
by AJ.
Yeah, yeah, it was probably a bit hard, but it's a spirited thing. We're all passionate about what we do. We work hard for the Knoxville Nationals. We kind of all work towards it, and we probably take it way too seriously for what it is, but it just means everything to a guy to put it in that race. And when it's all over in the first lap of the heat race, you're not going to be happy about it. And I probably, I'm the kind of guy who says what he's feeling at the moment, and I tried to, be as diplomatic as I could be, so that made it funny for the fans. And, I'm the kind of guy who tries to talk to the fans. I'm not really trying to talk to my competitors or, put my ego out there. I just really try to talk to that kid in the red hat that's sitting in the grandstands, want to be there and have a great time with his family. And, that people know that of me. I want to try and, explain what's going on in our world to theirs, and I think that's why I resonate with a lot of different kind of fans, and I appreciate all the support we get. So I just feel like that's the kind of guy I am. Try to be honest and try to say what I'm feeling at the time, and sometimes because I'm Australian, it comes out a little funnier than other guys. So.
And then, can you go back the first time you ever ran Knoxville? What you thought of the place?
Oh yeah. I mean, actually, I come here in 2000, and I was invited over here many times to work on people's cars, and I refused to come for that reason. I wasn't going to come until I got the opportunity to race. My dad came in here in about 1980 and watched the Knoxville Nationals. Brought me a little pen at home. I still have it. I had it on my wall my whole childhood, and I had pictures of those they were like calendars. I used to cut them up, and they had big pictures of colour print pictures of like Sammy Swindell and Steve Siegel, Bobby Allen, Donnie Crive. So I just had Steve Kinder, obviously, different races, and that was what was on the side of my wall. Some of my buddies had surfing pictures or this or that or whatever, but I had that. That's what, we grew up racing, and they're the pictures I had, and I always wanted to come to Knoxville. So finally when I got here, I arrived, and Glenn Freeland, a lot of people know him down in Knoxville. He's worked on, a couple of Champions race cars, and he's been, he's now an official down there. He's been around a long time. He's a great guy. Anyway, when I met him, he brought me down, and it was when they had Ragbike come through Knoxville, and they had a big party down on the infield, and so that was my first time and I took the minute to go up and sit in the grandstand. I can't remember, it might have been H or I or something. I sat up there and I just looked at the place, and I was so glad to be there. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I had a tear or two. I was pretty emotional about it. I was going through a bit in my life at the moment at that time. My son had passed away, and I was just feeling a lot of it. But I was just so glad to finally be there to race. And I mean, the place has meant a lot to me. I've been really proud to race there, since 2002 June when I kind of moved here. I did get to run the Nationals in 2000 and in 2001, but I wasn't living in Iowa till then. And I'm proud to have run the championship there pretty much every year. I've missed only one. We ran the Badlands. We ran 12 races that year, I think, which is more races than we ran this year in the championship at Knoxville. We're in the points. We missed a few races this year, but we still enjoyed supporting, racing there, and I really enjoy the fact that this community has always been good to me and supported us with our business, and I'm glad. I live 17 minutes from Knoxville Raceway in Prairie City, Iowa, so I'm pretty grateful when it all comes down to it. It's definitely a privilege to race there.
And your biggest win, I know you have 4 wins at Knoxville. Probably your biggest is the World Challenge.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to win it in 2009, and I think it was in 2015 or 16, I forget. I'm fortunate enough. I won 2, win the Summer Classic, which was the originated at the 1,200-pound Nationals. It was an awesome race to win. That was the first one I won, and I'm proud of all the wins I've had there, but obviously winning in front of that Knoxville Nationals crowd on Friday night twice is something that I'll never be able to forget, and just very lucky and very fortunate to have been able to choose those nights to win, and hopefully before it's all said and done, I'll maybe win one or 2 more. It's tough to win down at Knoxville, and some of the greats that have been winning for years and years and years and years find it very difficult to even get but 1 win a year now, and it's tough. I mean, the competition's really hard. It doesn't make it easy when Brian Brown's as good as he is, and he's pretty much made it really hard for everybody to get any sort of more than 1 or 2 wins. So he's really fast at the moment, very confident there, especially on a local night. But we need to bring it to him somehow, and hopefully we'll work towards maybe getting a win or 2 next year. And I mean, I've got a great team that I'm working with now, and it's the first time I've ever drove for someone else. The Brian Ridge and his boys, Cody and Austin Miller. Have been, just our teams really gelled this year. We ran a second and a third, and I felt like we had good results. We were strong most every night that we were there. It was a lot of fun. Finally, not having to be the owner and essentially be responsible for everything that took responsibility, a lot of the responsibility away from me this year, and it's been working well. It's good for me.
I got to thinking last year on the Wool of Allah's night, you were smiling even though you got upside down.
What's that?
You were smiling when you got upside down, racing Donnie's shots close.
Yeah, I think I bumped my head pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I was really, I try to, be professional and kind of put it in perspective. Donnie Shots and I are really good friends, so, to take a ride like that next to him and, essentially, a lot of people wouldn't be able to put it all together. They just want to blame somebody, and knowing him so well, he's such a clean race car driver. It wasn't very hard for me to put it in perspective very quickly. I knew I'd just taken a ride. I was happy to get out of it, and more than anything, I was just glad I sort of survived because there wasn't much left of the race car, and obviously I knew the impact that I just undergone. So I really was pretty happy in that sense, but. You just try to be, you can leave, you can blame everybody and blame the world for something going wrong like that. But in racing, even guys you really don't like, you'd never hurt them on the racetrack. It's just not who you are. We don't want to hurt each other, and we want to have a good time. Want to beat some of those guys that I don't like very much, but at the same time, I'd never put them in harm's way. Just not who I am. I don't want to ever, we're all not perfect, and we make mistakes on the racetrack. And Donny Schatz is the best in the world, and he makes very, very few. So when you take a ride like that, you could really find a way to try and blame him or something like that, but it just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be true, and it just, as good of friends as we are, there's no way that he would ever want to do that to me, let alone even other races he's very competitive with that perhaps maybe he's not that fond of, So just not who sprint car racers are. We're gladiators. We put on a show. We want to win. It's hard and tough, but at the end of the day, there's no way that you'd ever want to put anybody, health at risk or hurt at anybody. It's just not the way we really are. It's one of those things that happen in this sport. Unfortunately, you take crashes and hopefully no one gets hurt. So.
And then, are you going to be with the same team next year for sure?
Gosh, I hope so. As far as I know, I am. And, we just sort of gelled. I mean, we feel like we're having a great time. We're talking about what we're doing for next year. And so as far as I'm concerned, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Let's not do something silly between now and the end of the season to let them down or something. But I doubt that's possible. I mean, we're going to race some races here through the end of the year and finish up in Charlotte. And then I'll be fortunate enough I'm going to get to go down and race in Australia again at Christmas for 4 or 5 races, and then we're talking about hopefully starting our season off in Florida or Volusia, which is something I've dreamt of doing for many years, and love to get the opportunity to do that and race there. I've been there and watched so many times. Never getting the chance to do it, I'm excited for that opportunity. Then if everything went to plan, I might get to do a bit of racing in Pennsylvania before the season opens and at Knoxville, and then we'll kind of do much the same as we did this year, depending on how we're running and how much time the boys have got. They've got a business too, and so does Brian Bridge, the owner. He has a business. So there's a lot of factors that play into what our schedule is. We try and keep it, have a schedule, but, understand we're trying to appreciate each other and what we've all got to accomplish in our own personal lives as well. So, I mean, the one thing that we haven't done this year, which made it a lot of fun, was put a lot of pressure on ourselves to, be at Knoxville every week. We try to. It was their first year, and as a team, I felt like I wanted us to be competitive every day we went, really not wear ourselves out. So I feel like we did a good job because we're going to run here for quite a few races at the end of the season. To finish out, and like I said, I'm looking forward to going to Jackson in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a great race up there, and just be a good way to finish out the year before we sort of really commit to or find out totally what we're doing for next year. But at the same time, we are talking about it, and it should be exciting. I think we're working on some new equipment, and we've got some motors in the works. So there's a lot of good going on. I'm excited for next year. I think that we're building on what we did this year, and I think what we did this year was above expectations, really.
I have one more question for you. Where can they find your products at?
Well, where can you buy Vortex Racing products?
And more information.
All right. Well, you can. I mean, I'm on Facebook. You can look at my page on Facebook. Vortex Racing products. But more than anything, people who want to talk to me about running my product, it's a small business. We're very personal in the sense we have our dealer network, and so unless you're living in that state, if you're in the local area, I don't know what's the reach of this radio.
All over
today.
the world so far.
All over the world.
Yeah.
So we're talking to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you call me, my number's, it's not hard to find, and I can help you with your wings, no problem. I mean, you can call any one of our dealers in the state of California, Washington, Pennsylvania. We have dealers in Ohio as well. So we're not hard to find, and with the internet these days, people find you pretty quick. And most people are welcome to ring me directly, and if you're in a state close to a dealer, I'll point you in their direction. As anybody knows, using Vortex, we're probably the most expensive wing on the market, and we're not really looking to save you a bunch of money. We're looking for you to win races and make a little money. Build you a part that's a premium quality that lasts a little bit longer, and makes your race car go faster. And you also have the ability to call us and our technical information for the rest of your car and help you get your car set up and going a bit better. And we customize the wings to suit your driver's needs, or if you're the driver, I can help you, with what you're looking to do and where you're racing and those sorts of things. Just our experience over the years of dealing with some of the best racers in the country. Fortunate enough to build wings for Tony Stewart Racing and Donny Shots for many years. Had over, I think, 12 Knoxville Nationals champions and 10 World of Outlaw champions. So with Don, so he's won 10, I think. So we're very blessed to have Kyle Larson and different teams for Stenhouse Junior's team. It's really been excellent just to have this year we had David Gravel win the Knoxville Nationals on our product. So there's really no excuse for anybody to not give our product a go, other than the fact that if you're on a budget and you're not really, you're looking to get better, but you don't see yourself as a winning team, and you're just enjoying the sport. Other than that, I mean, there's no reason really to not try our product, because it has all the runs on the board time and time again, and and we want to help you get faster. That's our MO.
Thanks for joining us, sir.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate your time tonight and having me on your program. Good night.
Good night. My guest has just wrapped up the MOA Championship here on the podcast. Welcome, Paul Niesizer. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Good. Was it easy with the pressure off the last 2 nights to race?
Yeah, I'd say it wasn't too bad. I mean, to be able to go in there and just kind of make sure we roll it in the trailer so we have something to run the rest of the season with, and not have to push the issue too hard. You got it already in the bag's pretty good feeling.
And you had a couple other people that showed up, like Rico.
Yeah, we were fortunate to have a pretty good run against him there the last time we raced there and come out on top. But like I said, we just kind of took what we could get, didn't take really any risks at all, just trying to minimize mistakes and anything tore up. And, we just run top 10 both nights.
Yeah.
We won the previous 4 races all year, so it was a pretty solid year all in all.
Yeah. And you did some non-wing racing a little bit too.
Yeah, we did. I ran, got a top 5 in the first race there at Jacksonville, and then we went to Kokomo for the SmackDown the first night, and we was like second in the rookie race for that deal. So it was pretty cool, something I want to keep doing more and more of. Just haven't really found the time to do it, but I've run a handful of midget races, and I enjoy it. Any kind of racing, anytime I get behind the wheel.
What does the rest of this year look like?
Honestly, it's pretty uncertain. I'm kind of shopping around for some rides to hop in some of these races here at the end of the year. I know the ASCS has a 2-day show this weekend at Creek County. I'm kind of trying to figure out a way to get down there for that. Just me personally and my own team, I don't really have the the time and outside of racing, things have gotten very busy to where I don't feel like I can prepare properly to be a contender at any of these races coming up. But hopefully we'll still get to the World Finals like we usually do, and whatever now in the next 3-4 weeks we'll be able to do. But just kind of time will tell. I don't really have any plans.
And then what about next year?
Next year is kind of the same thing. I didn't come into this year with a plan. We were fortunate. I guess you call it fortunate with the rainouts the way they fell. We had way too many, in my opinion, but I think we rained out 15 to 20 races, and it just worked out to where we didn't miss any of the mower races. I was probably going to miss a couple of them, but the way the rain fell, they didn't race either, and we were able to lock up the championship with them. So we'll see what happens. I've run 50, 60, 70 races the last 2 or 3 years, and just depending on things, I really just kind of race the race and win races. I don't worry about points, I don't worry about who's where, what this pays or what that pays. I feel that really makes sense. So just kind of play it by ear, and like I said, I don't really have a plan this year. Just racing with him.
Yeah. Like one race I know you showed up to, and it was a total surprise, was at Burlington. Still,
what race was that?
The Slocum for the 305.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we weren't even playing back here at my shop, and then the doors, the lashes were all screwed up, so then we ended up taking my rig and threw the 305 in the back of it, towed up to the Burlington, which is one of my favorite tracks. So that was one of those weekends you didn't plan on, but sometimes the best plan is no plan.
Exactly. Is there any plans of maybe running Knoxville sometime again?
Yeah, I think so. I actually didn't run it this year at all.
Are you still there?
Again, just all the way the weather falls, I don't go for a specific plan. We just kind of think by year. Monday comes, we get the cross. We get all our maintenance done, and we decide. I got the 360 or the 410 at the disposal, which I feel very fortunate to be able to pick and choose and look at the weather, decide what we're going to do and prepare for it. And sometimes.
Still there?
Change. Yeah. Got me?
Yeah, I was breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, we just kind of decide what we're going to do Tuesday, usually Monday, Tuesday, and play the weather game if it's how it's going to be. And come Friday, Thursday, Friday, we figure out exactly what we're going to do. And we might go east, we might go west. We don't have a plan, so just kind of play the weather game, play what makes sense logistically, money wise, and just go.
And I know Jacksonville is finally happy to get the World Outlaws in for once.
Yeah, I think that was a 2 or 3 year hiatus they took there just for weather and circumstances outside everybody's control. But it was good to get that one in. We didn't really have the results we wanted winning it. I think we actually won like every race they had leading up to that. And just got up in the fence a little bit and didn't get the job done. The race that we ran this year that rained out, I guess it was after the dash before the B mains. We qualified like third, had run really well, and we were starting towards the front. And I was more excited about it that time. But just didn't quite put the whole night together this go around. Looking forward to when they come back. We were supposed to have an all-star race, and honestly put us up against anybody on either of those, especially at Jacksonville. It's a place, right out of my backyard, and a place I've got a lot of laps at.
Yeah, and that's a bet. And I've watched a bunch of it when they've been on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a racy joint, no doubt.
Yeah. And how I first heard your name was a comment by Terry McCarl your first year when you finished like third with the MOA, I think, Burlington.
Oh, yeah.
That's when Terry McCarl said this is a guy to keep an eye on.
Well, Terry's always been good to me, and I respect the hell out of him. So he's been around a long time and seen a lot of stuff, and actually been fortunate to have quite a few good duels with just him and I racing for wins or whatever throughout the years since I've been on it. I remember that race pretty good. We ran pretty well, and that was early on. And like I say, I like to think that between then and now, we've improved a lot, gotten a lot faster, and more of a competitor than we were however many years ago that was.
And you always have an interesting sponsor I love is Cam 2 Blue Bloods.
Yeah, no, they've been a huge supporter of mine. I think going on 6 or 7 years now. They're a global company with lubricants and antifreeze, oil, engine oil, rear end oil, brake cleaner, like I said, antifreeze, tractor oil, truck oil, you name it. They're a global company, and fortunate to have them on my side. They've been a big supporter, and they big part of why I'm able to stay on the road the way I am and have the type of success we have, and just make everything go around.
I have a couple more questions for you. There's a track that you want to run that you haven't yet, or a race.
Track I haven't run that I want to run. I guess I got 2 of them on that one. One of them's on the West Coast, one of them's on the East Coast. I really, really would love to go run Tulare in California, like say for the Trophy Cup, which I think is next week.
Yep.
I'm not going to be out there this year. And the other one will be Port Royal out there in Pennsylvania. They just both seem to be something kind of towards my driving style that I haven't got a chance to see if we can hang in there at that place.
And I know you've mentioned your Twitter page and website if you have one.
I'm sorry?
Your Twitter page and if you have a website or not, how fans can keep up.
Yeah, thing you got to do is be able to spell my last name for both of those, which can be a trick. I don't think it's too complicated. I've been spelling it my whole life, but some people have trouble. My Twitter would be at Paul, Paul _Nienheiser. That's Nienhiser. And my website is www.paulnienheiser.com.
Thanks. We appreciate your time. And any other time you want to come on and talk, you're more than welcome.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for Paul coming on the show.
Welcome to the Dirt and Racing Podcast. Our guest today will help us tell you about Trophy Cup. Bobby Gerald, how's it going, Bobby?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Getting excited for this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be headed over there to Tulare a little bit later this afternoon, and then the racing starts tomorrow. And they'll start nice and early because they're going to have a bunch of cars, and then they'll continue on Friday, and then the championship night will be Saturday night.
Can you explain the format for in case people don't know?
Yeah, it's without going into too much detail, basically what the Trophy Cup is about is a race fan by the name of Dave Pusateri, who was a loyal fan at San Jose Speedway for many, many years before that place shut down. He goes back to the days when the fast guys would start at the back and the main events would be fully inverted. And he missed seeing that, so he devised a point system and basically devised this race where we would get to see in the final night, the fast guys have to come from the back and get points for moving up through the field. And the way the point structure works, it's turned out to be pretty neat. It just makes for exciting racing from the first time you time trial through your heat races, through any time you're on the track, you're being rewarded for passing cars. And so it's all based on a point system, and they keep tallying up points. Thursday and Friday night, actually, they take the higher of the 2 points point night scored for the driver and team. So if you have a good night on Thursday, you can kind of cruise a little bit on Friday night and basically just live off your Thursday points. And vice versa, if you mess up on Thursday night or you get in a crash or something like that, then you can come back on Friday night and still salvage a good trophy cup. So it makes for some exciting racing. The fans love it. It's grown in stature, year by year.
And it's also for a good cause too.
It's for a great cause, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they've raised an obscene amount of money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation over the years, but it is one of the things that seems to make the Trophy Cup special is just the fact that you are doing it for charity. It just brings a different vibration to everything about the weekend. People are in a good mood. They're upbeat, maybe a little more forgiving about different things than they would be. It's also late in the season, at a time when people aren't. It's not like it's in the middle of summer. You know how it is sometimes when people have been racing every day for a long period of time and they're a little grumpy and the weather's hot, that kind of stuff. So it's a little later in the year. The perfect 73 and 75 degrees for highs Thursday through Saturday. It'll chill off a little bit. Just good fall weather. It just makes for a great event.
And who's some of the up and comers out there that we can expect?
Well, there's going to be a whole bunch of great entries that are entered in this race. So as far as first, I think Freddie Bramer's still a guy that's has his best days ahead of him. He's going to be driving the Brick Kading Racing number 69, coming out from Pennsylvania. Colby Copeland is a kid from Roseville, California. I call him a kid. He's a veteran race car driver, but he seems to continue to get better and better. Mitchell Facento has been another guy based out of the Central Valley that's gotten a lot better. Buddy Kofoid's going to be racing for the Tarletons in one of their cars, and I think everybody is pretty aware of Buddy and his championship this year at Fremont Speedway. Ryan Burnell's a non-wing ace who is getting better and better with a wing. He's going to be there. Caleb Henry is a young driver out of the Sacramento area. He's going to be in one of the Doug Roots cars. And then we got to hit on some of the stars that are going to be there as well. You're going to have Bud Kading, and you're going to have Tim Kading, and you're going to have Aaron Reitzel's going to be there, and you're going to have Dominic Selzy, Shane Golovic, who's a two-time champion at the event, Jason Solwall, Rico Abreu, Jack Ottenshield, Randy Hannigan's coming back, the veteran driver. We haven't seen him out here in a while, so excited about that. It's deep with talent. Paul McMahon's running it. Carson Macedo's little brother, Paul Macedo, he definitely fits into the class. He's going to be there. Kyle Hurst, who's been close to winning the Trophy Cup before, but hasn't broken through. He'll be there. Willie Croft, who's won the Trophy Cup in the past. DJ Neto is a good young driver out here in the California area. The Johnson brothers, Chase Johnson and Colby Johnson, will be there. Jody Robinson's a good young driver that's coming up through the ranks. She won an SCCT race earlier this year. She'll be there. Blake Hahn from ASCS World. So, you can see it's a loaded field.
So it's kind of like a national event, except it's on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's kind of grown in stature to that point. The winner's going to take home, I believe, $26,000 this year for if you're the high point person. You're guaranteed that over the course of the 3 days. So it's an interesting event. It's a lot of fun, good racing, and the Thunderbolt Raceway. For folks who haven't been there, it's a third long high bank racetrack with pretty long straightaways and pretty tight turns. And it just seems to make for exciting racing. It's one of the places where the drivers that are really skilled can get up on the wall, and literally on the wall. Sometimes they rub their right rear on part of the wall as they come off of turn 4. So it's exciting racing.
Then I have some other questions out, not Trophy Cup for you.
Okay.
First of all, I know your dad came back for the Nationals. First time since 90? What did his impression of it?
Oh, he loved it. He hadn't been there in a long time, so to see all the different changes, and Bob Baker, who's the head guy over there at the Hall of Fame Museum, gave us a great tour. We spent a lot of time walking through.
Still there? You were talking about the Nationals with your dad.
Yeah, he had a great time. We spent some time in the Hall of Fame Museum and really enjoyed some of the displays there. I think it's really cool that they have different regional displays from all over. So there is stuff from California, there's stuff from Pennsylvania, there's stuff obviously from the Midwest. It was a really cool experience, and Bob Baker gave us a great tour all the way through the Hall of Fame Museum and up in some of the suites. And then on Saturday night, Tony Bruce Jr. invited us up into his suite, so we spent part of the night there watching the races. Overlooking part 2. But we had a great time. The Nationals is something else. Anybody who hasn't been to the Nationals, you definitely need to put that on your list of things to do because it's a great show.
Yeah, and then talk about. I just seen it back the other day. It came up on Twitter. The wave when you were doing TV. The T-Mac Terry McCarl.
Yeah, I did see that on Twitter. Someone reposted that, and I thought that was it was a great memory from a good night of racing. Actually, the only reason that I caught that as an announcer was that I had seen Terry do that before. Terry spent some time out here racing at San Jose Speedway, and I always loved having some time with Terry. He's a fun guy, and he's good for the sport. And he likes to bring a little flair and showmanship to what he does. And so I'd seen that before. He'd pass somebody out here and given him a wave. And, so we were locked in on you're either watching the racetrack or watching a monitor. But I was, in hindsight, I'm really glad that I caught that, him and knew what it was, knew that he wasn't giving him the finger or wasn't, trying to do anything silly there. I knew that was a signature T-Mac thing, was to give a guy a little wave every once in a while.
And then going back to the West Coast, how's the car counts been?
It depends on what we're talking about. It's the 410s. There's not quite the inventory that there are in the 360s. So we'll have probably 80 to 100 cars here this weekend. But the in down usually in the 20s and 30s, somewhere in the range.
Yeah, and then I know back to Larry, I know this weekend on Cushion that they've been advertising it like crazy. That Portsmouth open to takeaways.
Yeah, so anyone who's out in your neck of the woods, or anyone who can't make it to Tulare, you could definitely dial up the Cushion and check it out. The racing is second to none. We'll have Troy Hennig will be up in the booth with me. He's a great, knowledgeable announcer who does the Silver Dollar Speedway at Marysville on a regular basis, and also does a lot of big races around California. And he is dialed in. He knows everything there is to know about these guys. So we always look forward to working with Troy. Gary Thomas, I'm sure, will get some mic time as well. And Stu McCarthy from Australia has flown over, and so he'll be there again handling some wireless microphone duties. So I feel like we have it pretty well, and it should be a good show. Fish always does a great job.
And have you been paying attention on national the Outlaws lately?
The Outlaws?
Yeah, with that points battle right now.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, Brad Sweet and Donnie Schatz, and then is Gravel still within striking distance too, or is it?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's basically the top two.
Yeah, so I think that's great. It's good for the sport anytime there's a good points battle, and I think it changes the way, just in my experience and seeing race drivers and teams over the years, it changes the way they drive a little bit late in the year. Maybe a little less willing to put it on the edge, and a little more conservative when you're racing for points, because you just don't want to do anything silly. You want to try to avoid any DNFs if at all possible. So it is interesting how a points battle can affect the racing a little bit. Sometimes it opens up the door for some different winners late in the season, just because some of the guys are racing a little more conservatively.
And then talk about your time. You did call some races at Knoxville.
Yeah, I was lucky enough as a pretty young guy to be invited up there. I believe at the time Nick Trier and Jack Fairway. I think Fairway, yeah. Fairway, yeah. They were the announcers at that time, and Jack Miller would come in to do the Nationals. And so when I was a kid, maybe 17 or 18, they invited me up to call like one of the dashes or something like that at the Nationals, and so I always enjoyed that. And then a little bit later on, maybe in the early '90s, actually was hired and brought in to do some infield announcing there. And so those were great times. And then I think I did at one. There was at least 1 year where I got to spend some time up in the booth for the Nationals. So that was fun. And then, of course, later on, I got to do some TV stuff. And I certainly missed the live TV aspect of the Nationals. I thought that was a really good thing for the sport.
Yeah, but it's helped the crowd lately, not being live, too.
You think so?
On Saturday night, especially. The last several years.
I think that the Nationals are so strong that if it was televised or it wasn't televised, that place would still be packed to the rafters. So I actually think it would. I'm in the camp that thinks that live television would just create more and more interest and sell you more tickets. But I guess that's a debate for another talk show.
Yeah, but and then talk about you got to work on with TV with some of the good guys like Steve Evans and Ralph.
Yeah, I learned a lot from Steve Evans. Steve Evans was a really good guy. I was out there with TNN. He was kind of the elder statesman of the crew, and he taught me a lot of things about the industry and little tips and tidbits about how to get through a night and how to shut your brain off after the races were over and not dwell on things. And it was a sad, tragic night when we found out that he was no longer with us. We were actually at a World Outlaws race in Las Vegas when that happened. And I miss Steve to this day. He's a good guy. Ralph Shaheen is so into the auto racing world all the way around. He works really hard. I have a lot of respect for him and all the things he's been able to do through the years as an announcer and an entrepreneur, and reviving National Speed Sport News, and just his nonstop commitment to motorsports is definitely. I mean, that's his passion and that's what he loves to do, and he's done a great job with it.
And even before on the National Network, the American Sports Cavalcade, I wish somebody would bring that back.
Yeah, those were great shows. They really had a nice formula for doing those shows. My dad worked on many of those, and I was lucky enough to be like a production assistant on several of those shows. And they just had a nice format for the way they cut those shows up. I think they were maybe an hour long, and they took out all the downtime and basically just gave you, the best meat of the program. So the American Sports Cavalcade, was definitely kind of a groundbreaking thing, I think, in motorsports coverage. It was mostly done by, or I think it was all done by Diamond P Sports Productions and a fellow by the name of John Mullen, who was the director of those shows with quite a bit over the years on different things. And he did a really good job on that stuff.
And any other projects you're up to besides just announcing?
Oh yeah, I've got my hands in all kinds of things. I do a little bit of DJing out here in California, and I have a website that's related to basketball. So gearing up for the NBA season out here, and doing some announcing and whatever any kind of public speaking and work that I can get, and just keeping it busy that way. I'm also really into sports cards and sports card collecting. I have a pretty extensive basketball card collection, and I'm into old vinyl albums and all kinds of stuff.
We appreciate your time, and we'll hope to hear you this weekend.
Well, thank you very much, Marshall. I appreciate you having me on, and hope everything is well there in your neck of the woods. And yeah, I invite all the listeners of your podcast to please tune in on the cushion this week and join us from Tulare, California for the Trophy Cup. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all in the racing, and hopefully if me, Troy, and Gary, and Stu, and all the people at the cushion do our job, we'll make it an enjoyable experience for you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Marshall.
Welcome, my guest, live from California right now, getting ready to race tonight. Buddy Kilfoy, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me on. Like you said, we're at Trophy Cup this weekend in Tulare, and driving for Charleston Motorsports, so it should be a lot of fun. I always look forward to this event.
Yeah, and then first time I saw you as a big name was 2016 at the Trophy Cup.
Yeah, that was definitely. It feels like a long time ago now. It was 4 years ago already, and that's where I got my one of my bigger wins in my career was here at the Trophy Cup, my prelim night. So hopefully we can repeat that and maybe pick up the title.
Yeah, and then the East Coast got to see you race a lot this year so far.
Yeah, and I've was very fortunate enough to race out in the Midwest and kind of out east for Ed Neumeister and the Linders with Ray Brooks helping us out. So I'm very fortunate to do that. It was kind of a dream of mine to be able to race out in the Midwest and race all over the place in Ohio and a little bit Indiana and stuff like that. And so we picked up some big wins and a championship, which was some things that I wanted to do. Some of my goals was to get an all-star win and a championship, and I was able to tick those two boxes. So that was really, really cool. And then as of recently, I've been able to drive for Keith Coons a little bit in the midget and ran a sprint car and picked up a win actually in his midget about a month ago, and I've been having some really good finishes, and I'm just having fun right now.
That's the main part of racing, having fun. How did you get your start?
So I got my start. I was about 5 years old. One of our friends, his son, who's a little bit older than me, he raced outlaw carts. So I got into it through them and started running their second car, and ran it for about a year. And then my dad and I decided that we should get our own car, and did that for about 6 or 7 years, and then we ended up getting a non-wing spec sprint when I was 9 and practiced it, and then decided to sell it and go the wing route, and built our own wing sprint car, and kind of just my dad and I, and then I had some help from some good sponsors and of course family, and was able to practice our own Wayne 360 sprint car when I was 10, and kind of doing that is when Dan Simpson kind of discovered me and practicing at Marysville and stuff like that, and decided to have me race for him and his team the following year when I was 11 because he owned the series King of the West, which is a traveling 410 series here in California. So at the time he owned that series and decided to make a little mini series called the King of the West Lights. So it was about 10 races, and I won 4 of them in the championship, and then the next year, because of how young I was 12 the next year, and couldn't do anything sprint car wise, so had to go back to the outlaw karts for a year, and then when I was 13, my dad and I decided to kind of get our own car out again, and with the help of people like Brian Crockett and Heather Boyce, they allowed me to race up in Oregon, Washington area when I was 13, and had some good success up there, and then when I kind of became of age, which would be around 14 now, I was able to race full time in California for Dan Simpson, and had some good people come on board, like Gary Silva, and so I raced for Dan for when I was 14, 15, and 16 years old a little bit, and then after midway through last year, I started racing for Doug Roots a little bit, and because of him, I got the opportunity to go to New Zealand, which was definitely a lot of fun, seeing a new country. Because before that, I went to Australia to race too, but New Zealand's also a really, really cool place. And then that leads to this year. I'll step back a little bit. Last year, I was talking with Carson Macedo, because there was a point where I was kind of in between rides, and he was out there racing. And I was asking him, is there something maybe I could get in, or is something free, so with a free spot or whatever. And he mentioned the lenders, so I gave him a call, and they said, yeah, we'll do a couple races and go from there. And because at the time they didn't really have a steady driver. They were just having fun racing with a whole bunch of different people, and so I did about 6 races for them, and we were really good and fast together. And so Ed and the lenders and Ray Brooks, they all kind of sat down and decided to have me back next year full time. So we raced this whole year, and just had a lot of fun, and I was able to, because of them, able to conquer the goals that I was hoping to do. And so for next year, I'm not sure what I'm doing 100% yet. I'm still trying to look for some stuff, but it's been really awesome so far.
And then the Tarletons, did this deal just come together recently for this weekend?
I've been talking to Paul for the last couple years now. Paul Baines, who kind of oversees the operation. I've always been trying to kind of get in the car with them and race together, and it just never would work out where maybe I was free, or maybe they had an open seat. So it was about March or April. We were talking, and they he asked me if I could run Trophy Cup for him. I said, yeah, I can do that, because I didn't have anything for Trophy Cup at the time, and so it was really cool to finally work out where we could work with each other and race. And I've always wanted to drive for Charlton's too. They've a very prestigious team, and they're great people, and just great everything. So it's been about 6 or 7 months ago we planned to do it. And, so it's a long wait, but it's finally here, and I'm looking forward to it.
Who was some of your heroes when you were little, Eric?
I'd say Steve Kinzer definitely was my first hero, because all of my outlaw carts, and even my sprint car that my dad and I owned, it was a white body and silver wing with the red number 11. But also I've always been a huge fan of Joe Jr. and Ayrton Senna is one of my biggest heroes right now. I'm just a big fan of all of them and all the different types of racing, especially Formula One. I've just kind of fallen in love with the history of it, and so Senna is definitely a hero of mine. So I'd say those 3 are definitely my heroes.
Where would you like to race that you haven't yet gotten to?
Man, I would say Knoxville is definitely one of them. I haven't been to Knoxville yet, but also I would like to be able to just get out to Pennsylvania and race anywhere in Pennsylvania would be really cool. But honestly, I've never really thought about where I really want to race. If I haven't been there, that's where I want to that's where I want to go. Just wherever, whenever. Any new track is fun to me, and even some of the older ones that I've been to, like I've been to, like Lawrenceburg's a really fun track and my favorite track, and I wouldn't mind going back there again. I would say anywhere new is somewhere I would love to go.
And then you're in the era where anybody can watch online and didn't have to read in the newspaper. So Is that good time to race now for you?
Can you repeat that question?
I mean, talking about where anybody your fans can watch you no matter what. They don't have to be at the track.
Yeah. So my social media would be obviously my name, Michael Kofoid, and for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And then we're really fortunate now with these live streams. So like the Cushion, I believe it's the Cushion, is live streaming Trophy Cup and all these great little broadcasters. So yeah, you can always if you can't make it, catch us anywhere on those like Speed Shift or Dirt Vision or the Cushion, and of course my social media.
Are you have any rides to go back overseas this year or not yet?
I'm still working on it. I'd love to go back to New Zealand and hopefully defend my title. Would be really cool. But I'm not 100% sure what my off season is looking like right now. So I'm kind of working on that.
Okay, so if you're an owner, get a hold of you then.
I've been talking to some people and would love to race for the guy Daniel Anderson that I drove for in New Zealand again. But yeah, like I said, I just gotta work on some stuff and figure out scheduling. It's get pretty hectic.
Yeah, and you said you were 14 when you started in California with the sprint cars. Is that a normal age for most people?
I was one of the younger ones, but it seems like now 14, 15, if the kid is getting into a sprint car, 14 or 15 is about an age where it's more popular now. 14 to 16, I would say, actually is a popular starting age for someone in a sprint car here in California.
We appreciate your time. Anytime you want to come back on, you're more than welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks.
All right.
Today's guest is Dave Argenbright, and we hit on a lot of topics. So here is the interview with Dave Argenbright.
Hall of Famer, you've probably seen him on TV, read some of his work. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Marshall. Thanks for having me on.
Your newest project right now is with Jimmy Sills. Can you explain that one?
Yep, I've written a number of books through the years, primarily most of them autobiography type books, and my most recent is, as you say, with Jimmy Sills, released it just a few weeks ago, and very excited about it. So far, the reception's been really, really good, and I'm real pleased. I'm really pleased with how the book turned out, and I'm pleased with that Jimmy's happy. That's a big deal.
Okay, and then where can I get some of your other books, like Lone Wolf and some of those?
Everything I got is at my website, daveargabright.com, DaveArgabright.com. I've always self-published and marketed my own books, and Brad Doty's book, Still Wide Open, is out of print right now, but everything else we've got.
Okay. And then you do some of the TV work. You started that what year?
My first TV experience was a really long time ago. I did a couple of sort of one-off type things locally close to home here in Indiana. And things really took off in the year 2000 when I was hired by TNN to be the second pit reporter with Bobby Gerald with the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series. And from that point, it's been pretty busy. I've worked with Speed TV through the years when TNN went away. As Mad TV evolved with Lucas Oil, I started doing some work for them, and that's really been a good home for me. That's been about 10 years now, and it's been worked out really, really well.
And then you also, if people don't know, you did some work for the Indianapolis Radio Network.
Yeah, from I think about 04, I believe it was, to 2010. I was a pit reporter on the Indy 500 broadcast. Also did a few races. I think I went to Milwaukee and
maybe, I don't really remember where all I went. I went to several other tracks around the country, covering IndyCar for the radio network. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was not easy, but it was a good experience.
And then, are you doing any TV for Lucas Oil this weekend?
No, I'm all done with Lucas through this year. We did the Dirt Track World Championship at Portsmouth, Ohio for the late models, Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. That was 2 weeks ago in Portsmouth, Ohio, as I said. And I'm all done. That wraps up their series, and my next outing is the Chili Bowl in January.
So, do you have an opinion on the ASCS Championship that's for this weekend?
Well, I know it's a little tighter. Sam Haferteep has been kind of owned that thing, and I know Blake Hahn is right in the thick of it, and that's a great series too. I did their TV for probably 4 years, just a few years ago, before I shifted over to begin doing the All-Star races. But the ASCS guys are really good guys to work with. They're good racers. They've got a very challenging format with their qualifiers and passing points, and it's a good group to follow. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. It's going to be a big weekend in Texas.
And then next weekend is the World Finals, the battle between Shots and Sweet.
Yeah, a little closer than it normally is there too. Donnie has had such a run with the Outlaws now for several years, and this year it's pretty interesting. I think a lot of people are excited about Charlotte, and it'll be a fun outing for sure.
Then I know, can you talk a little bit about the interview with Jason Johnson won the Nationals and his famous line?
You know, that was just a great moment. Obviously, something like that, when it's happening, you really have no idea. I mean, you kind of know all moments like that are once in a lifetime, but obviously we didn't know what would happen, with Jason down the line, and it made that moment, I think all the more enduring, at least for me, because even before that happened, Jason and I have been friends for many years, and I remember, when he got started, he kind of had long odds, and it was a hard, long road for him to establish himself, and he obviously had tremendous success, and so to see him win the Knoxville Nationals that night, I mean, I knew that was just a really, really special moment, and of course, he was so fired up, and one thing I do remember about that night is that the victory lane, it's always, a little bit chaotic, but man, that was just over the top that night. It was crowded with people. There was this massive outpouring of emotion for Jason, and the crowd, the crowd at Knoxville is really special because it's a lot of people, and you can feel that energy. And I don't think there was anybody, even the most diehard Donnie Schatz fan, I think was excited at just how that all came about. I mean, to see Jason win the Knoxville Nationals, it was just an unforgettable moment. And of course, he cooperated with a great, memorable line when he got out of the car. And, as they say, the rest is history.
And then this year was the same exact feeling when the 41 won again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different dynamic. I was happy for the team, obviously, everybody that they've gone through, Bobby and everybody, just to be there and to see him win that race, that was special. But by his own right, I was really happy for David Gravel because, he had had some serious heartache there before. And a young guy, a first-time winner, that was very cool. Just, again, one of those moments that lasts in your mind for a really long time.
And then the best kept secret, I think, and people miss out, is the final race at Knoxville of the year, the Late Model Nationals.
That's been great since the very beginning, in my opinion. I like both types of cars, so it is difficult for me to say that. They've really created a neat event. The Late Models race that track really well. And a 100-lap race, even with they have their own fuel stop, but a 100-lap race is a really different kind of animal. And it's fun. It's 3 good nights, and there's a lot of tension. And
I hope that they continue to build on it. I mean, it seems to me, I don't count the tickets, but it seems to me that they get more people each passing year, and definitely everybody's enthusiastic. So it's one of those events that I think is heading the right direction. It's really a lot of fun. I've had the pleasure of working every single one of them they've ran, and they've all been memorable. They've all been good.
Yeah, and then this year with the rain before, thinking, oh, we might have to come back and how the track crew can work.
Yeah. Yep. We've seen just about everything there. I mean, Knoxville, like every racetrack, I guess, it's got its own brand of magic. And, I remember one year for the late models, it rained for 3 straight nights, and we ended up running it on Sunday, and the track was real heavy. And, you just see a little bit of everything. And the very first one, man, it was so cold at that first one. I don't think I've ever been any more cold at a racetrack than I was that night. We used to run it, the first one they ran something like the middle or third week of October. Man, that was late. That was really cold by then. And since that time, they moved it up into September, and that's been a much more hospitable environment, I can tell you.
And then speaking of the All-Stars, how did you like 34 Raceway down in Burlington?
That was a lot of fun. Interesting story for me at 34. I mean, I've probably driven the Knoxville Raceway from my home here in Indiana, I don't know, maybe 7,500 times through the years. And I take US 34 across when I drive over. So I've driven by that racetrack, literally dozens and dozens of times, usually on a Wednesday midday or Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning when I'm driving home. But I've never seen a race there. And so all those, times I thought, man, I've got to get here. That's a neat looking little racetrack. And so this year when I saw the All-Star schedule for our TV production and saw that 34 was there, it was pretty exciting for me personally. I finally got to check that one off the bucket list.
It's even for late models, it's a racy place.
I'm sure it is. I just really like it because it's hospitable. It's a comfortable place to go. It's just a fun, great old racetrack, and the people there. Forgive me, I can't remember the owner's names. It's a nice couple, and they just couldn't have been more friendly and welcoming. And that means a lot. It's kind of a grind to do all these, and it makes a difference if you feel like you're really wanted at a racetrack, and they really are excited about television being there. And those guys were. I mean, they just threw their doors open, and they just couldn't have been more helpful. It was a great night. I hope we go back this next year.
Yeah, Brian and Jesse, I can't think right now. I know their names.
They're nice people.
Yeah, they are. I've talked to them a number of times. Anyways, but did you get to go to the controversy when the All-Stars had it in Pennsylvania or not?
I missed that by one night. We were at Lincoln, I believe, previous night, and then they went on to, I think it was BAPS that Sunday night, and we didn't cover that. We had 3 straight. We did Grandview, we did Williams Grove, and then we did Lincoln on Saturday night. We're not able to continue to go on to BAPS, so I missed that, but obviously, follow along with it real time, and then heard a lot about it later. Just unfortunate. Those guys, most racing officials, nearly all racing officials, they work really hard to get it right. Sometimes circumstances are that, it's difficult for everybody, and they make a call, and people don't agree, and you just kind of have to move on. But they did a good job, I felt like, of trying to remedy that. I know they reached out to all the teams that were affected, and when we went back 2 weeks later at Port Royal, it felt like everybody had buried the hatchet. The racers weren't complaining about it. It was over and done with, and they were ready to put it behind them and move on. And honestly, that's the best you can do in those circumstances.
Getting back to your book writing, I know you've done Brad Doty, Jack Hewitt, The Wolf. Who haven't you done that you would like to sit down and do with?
Well, I'd really like to write a book with Steve Kinzer. Hopefully that will happen. I still have hopes of doing it, and we've talked. And my biggest problem is just being overcommitted with too many projects, and I need to get caught up a little bit and get going with Steve. But that's something that's definitely on my radar. There's a couple projects down through the years that I wish I had done, but at the time I didn't really know enough about the process. I hadn't written the book yet. And I just didn't know enough about the process to know how to do it. But I wish a book could have been written about the Weld family when Kenny and Greg were still with us, because what a phenomenal story that could have been. And once they passed away, though, I mean, the idea of doing the story, at least for me personally, wouldn't be nearly as dynamic, because I really liked Kenny and Greg both. They were super interesting people, and that would have been a great book. So that's one that kind of got away a little bit that I wish I could have done.
Did you happen to read the one with Larry Weeks about Bob Trossel?
Yes, I did. I had that book, and Bob and I had talked a little bit too, but I know that he and Larry were very close, and Larry had a lot of passion, and it's fitting that he wrote that book. I mean, he was very, very close to Bob, and Bob's life was important, and it was worthy of, putting down on paper forever, and I'm glad they did that. Bob was a really special person. Obviously, aside from being a great racer, he was just a neat guy, and I miss him.
Yeah, and a lot of people can say they went to the school of Bob Trossel.
That's exactly right. He was a huge influence over a lot of people, man, a lot. He just had a way about him to teach and nurture and guide, and he was smart, and he was willing to share with people, whether you were racing with him or bought one of his chassis or even just went up and asked him. I mean, he was a huge influence in that region, huge, immeasurable.
Yeah, and then going to somewhere close to home, any good Brian Clausen family stories?
I just remember those guys when Brian was so young, such a kid. He was 13 years old, and he had come here to the Midwest. And I remember sitting at a table with him probably that first year at the Eldora Speedway. It was a fundraising thing they have in Ohio, in Salina, Ohio, each year in November. They still have it. And I can't remember the charity that it benefits, but they usually have a NASCAR type speaker that will come, and it's really a cool deal. And Earl Baltus and I, he invited me to join he and Bernice to come over, and so I went over and sat at their table, and they seated us with Tim and Diana Clausen and their kids. And like I say, Brian was probably 13, 14 years old, and here's this skinny little kid, and everybody's saying, he's going to be a sprint car driver. He's racing right now. And, deep inside you're saying, yeah, right. This kid really? But obviously, what a racer. He had as well, we talked of Trossel a moment ago. Brian had a terrific impact here in Indiana and on the USAC circuit and just among people in general. I mean, he just had this infectious passion for racing that people could relate to. And even though he wasn't with us a lot of years, he had a lot of impact.
And of course, his two dogs.
That's right, Chevy. I can't remember the other one.
Stu.
Well, what is it?
Stewart.
That's right, Stewart. Yes. Yep.
And can you see down the line, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the dirt track now having more events?
That's a tough call. They've obviously done a super job with their midget race. Doug Bowles is a really smart guy, and he's done a phenomenal job at the Speedway the last 10 years. Every time I see him, I tell him that. I just can't get over what a good job he's done and how he's engaged the Indianapolis and the racing community. And they really hit upon something special there. But I think what would keep it special is using it very little. One, maybe two events a year, and that's it. I think it's like anything else. The uniqueness of it would be diminished a lot very quickly if they ran a lot of races there. It's special that you only get to go there
on special occasions. And if it were me, I would keep it that way.
And then you do a little bit with Must-See Racing back in the day.
Yes, back in the day. I haven't done any of those. My schedule just got with Mass TV where it just wasn't possible anymore to balance both of those. They had some great events. It's another fun group of racers. And the wing cars on pavement, if you haven't seen them, they're rockets. They are rockets, and they're fun. I miss doing those races. I miss seeing those races, really. And I don't get a lot of the races are up in Michigan and Wisconsin, that area, and it's harder for me to get there because of my travel schedule. But Jim Hanks and his guys, they've done a great job.
And then, do you have the deal with Australia right now? The sadness on that deal. Do you know much more on that?
No, the only thing I read is that the state has said, that the government there has said that they will build another speedway. But, Parramatta, you can't replace things like that. I mean, the people in that community, they've raced there now for 15, 20, 30 years. I remember being there 2004, I think it was, when the World of Outlaws made their first trip down there. I think they called it Outlaws Down Under. And I was on the PA at that time with Wade Onger, I think, was there. Excuse me, that's not true. Dean Neal was there, the PA at Parramatta, and Robbie Farr. Jamie Farr, excuse me. Robbie's his brother, the racer. And it was a historic night, and it was a great racetrack with a ton of atmosphere and history, and the people there. You can build another racetrack, and you can pick up some of those fixtures and move them, but you can't move and recreate fully the experiences and the memories that all those people have there at that venue. So I'm just very sad. When we lose a racetrack, no matter how hard you try, you can't really make up all of that loss. I know those people, they're still in shock, and I think their shock will, if this plays through, will eventually turn into a period of grieving and mourning. And then they just, we have to move on. But it's just a sad chapter. I hate it.
Yeah, I do too. Any couple good Earl Baldus stories to wrap this up with?
Earl was one of the most unique people I've ever known. He was not a highly educated man, but he had a way about him, a savviness with people that was very, very strong, very memorable. He could be rough around the edges, don't get me wrong, but he really knew how to work a crowd. And, hearing him tell those stories of the early days of that racetrack in the 1950s, when they really weren't all that different from any other racetrack in the country. They were just trying to get people through the gates. And the racing they had wasn't all that phenomenal yet, in those very early years. And, with nothing but shoe leather and determination at barber shops and bars and grocery stores all around Western Ohio, Earl hung up banners and hung up posters and talked to people and shook hands. And he built that track by hand, almost one person at a time. And those memories we had when we were sitting in his house, just the two of us, just listening to his stories and working on that book, that was a rare privilege. That was something very special, and I'll never forget that time. Never.
I want to hit on one more promoter, Ralph Capitani.
Yeah, another one that will never be duplicated. What Cappy could do with a complicated and complex fair board environment was remarkable. He just had a way, again, with people, and he put Knoxville Raceway on the map big time. Now, don't get me wrong, Marion Robinson, Ray Grimes, those guys were important, and they kept it alive and made it what it is. But at just the right time, Cappy came along, and he took it to a special place. He made it arguably the greatest short track in the world. I mean, you could make that argument. And but not only that, you know what? He was just such a nice person. he could accomplish great things and make difficult calls and do it in a way he never compromised the integrity of his personality. He treated everybody with genuine respect and decency, and that's not easy in a position of leadership. You can make people mad, and he just had a way of just treating people right. I love that guy. He was irreplaceable. And it's nice to have the race during the Nationals, the Capitani, that Sunday night before as a tribute. Yep, great thing. Yep, Cappy is he's one of the all-time good guys. You know, when you lose someone like that, man, you lose a lot, and there's no doubt. Yeah, we appreciate your time, Dave, and hopefully see you down the road. That's great, Marshall. Thank you for having me on. Yeah. Good luck with your show. Thanks. All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye. And that was Dave Argenbright. And I can tell you a personal Capitani story was the night 1993 Nationals. It rained. He was willing to pay and call the Nationals final on lap 13 if it continued raining. And then another year, 1994, was when Kinder lost a muffler. Was Ralph said, "A rule's a rule," and then here's the media. Oh, he won't do anything because it's Steve Kinzer. I loved and respected that man, and he's sorely missed.
Welcome to the Dirt Racing Podcast. Special guest from the Racing Boys this week, Scott Trailer. How you doing, Scott?
Well, I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Last week in the ASCS just wrapped up their season.
Yeah, we just wrapped it up at Texas Motor Speedway. It was a big weekend for Sam Hickerty. He picked up his fourth national championship by 86 points. Really no doubt about it. After opening night when Sam went second to Terry McCall, and that locked up the championship for him. Now, he didn't have the night that he was hoping for the second night. Still got a top 10 finish, but it wasn't in the grand finish that he was hoping for to go out as the champion this year. But Sam has proven once again that Miles Hill and his team are the best 360 sprint car team in the country.
Yeah, and some of the highlights was featured Sunday on the NASCAR.
Well, I didn't get to see a lot of that, to be honest with you. It was a travel day for us. We were coming home, and we left Texas Motor Speedway, Fort Worth, Texas, I should say, Sunday morning. We watched a little bit of the Chiefs game, where he opened Kansas City Chiefs fans here in Kansas City, and so we watched some of that, and then we headed home. So I didn't get to see all of the television broadcasts. But that's good that they talked about it. You know, it's the great thing about racing at Texas Motor Speedway. The staff and everybody there do such a great job cross-promoting the Luke's ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. It's such a great facility, the dirt track. It has all the amenities, all the things that anything would ever want. It's just a remarkable facility. We're very blessed with the National Tour to wrap up our season there.
Yeah, do you have an opinion on this week's Outlaw finale?
Well, no, it sounds like it's been a hell of a year for the points race in the World of Outlaws this year, too. I'm not really up to speed right now on the points. I know a couple of weeks ago it was less than, I think, 10 points separated the two. But, yeah, I think it's going to be good. You know, Clarence down at Dirt Vision do a great job with that broadcast. And we'll be tuning in like everybody else around the country. We see the season finale with the World of Outlaws.
Yeah, and then did you get to go to the Jason Johnson event at the Lake of the Ozarks Speedway at all?
Unfortunately, I didn't, Marshall, because we were racing out of Devillsville Speedway in Mesquite, Texas that weekend. We would have loved to went there. It would have been great to see that. But unfortunately, we weren't able to make it.
Can you talk a little bit about the Johnson team? Because you've seen the rise of it before everybody else.
Well, yeah, very blessed to have a chance to travel up and down the road with Jason Johnson and Bobby. I remember when Jax was born, how big a deal that was and how much that changed Jason
ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. There's only a couple great ones that ever won with the National Tour. Jay Wright's the greatest of all time. He's the all-time winningest driver with 127 wins. Jason Johnson, I think he's got 77 wins. He's obviously got to be the second best. And then there's a gaggle of other drivers that have earned their stripes, and Sam's one of them. I think Sam hasn't made up his mind. I don't think Miles Hill has made up their mind if they're going to come back and attempt to go for number 5 in a row. But I hope they do. If you up there in that category with Gary Wright, Jason Johnson, that's pretty good company.
And another one that really cut its teeth in it on the local with the ASCS and now on the national stage is running well is Aaron Reitzel.
Yeah, Aaron Reitzel, 2015 champion with the ASCS National Sprint Car Tour, 2-time All-Star champion. And, I've said it many times that I think the ASCS National Tour is a great running grounds for drivers that want to go on and be professional sprint car drivers at the highest level. And that would be the World of Outlaws. There's no disrespect to ASCS, but I've always said it that I think the ASCS National Sprint Car Tour is the Xfinity Series of sprint car racing. All you got to do is go back and look. Jason Johnson, Shane Stewart, 2-time champion, Jason Johnson, Aaron Reitzel, Paul. There's so many different people that have came through the ranks of ASCS and learned how to become that professional racer they want to be when they're out traveling up and down the road. It's not easy to do. And when people come out with the national tour, it teaches them a couple things. It teaches them how to run up and down the road, manage their money, take care of their equipment, keep people hired for mechanics and crew chiefs as you beat up and down the road. So it teaches you a lot of different things when you run with the national tour, and it prepares you if you have aspirations of being a World of Outlaw driver. So, it's a great learning ground for people. We've seen a lot of them cut their teeth with ASCS.
And probably your next biggest event on the Racing Boys is Chili Bowl and the Shootout.
Yeah, the Tulsa Shootout and the Chili Bowl is coming up. It's going to be our 15th year, Marshall. It's hard to believe that we've been broadcasting the Chili Bowl 15 years, and we're looking forward to our 15th anniversary doing so. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to start on Monday again this year, so add another day, and we're looking forward to it. I'm sure we're going to have somewhere around 350 cars trying to make that 24-car field. So, that's a lot of fun. And then the one that's really the hardest for us when it comes work-wise is the Tulsa Shootout. The Tulsa Shootout, we go on at 9 in the morning. We don't go off till about 11 o'clock that night. So for the cameramen and all the people, the producers, the graphics people, the on-air talent, everybody to the man and woman that helps us with that broadcast, very taxing on the crew during the Tulsa Shootout.
Yeah, and then the War Series, you guys do a little bit with them.
Yeah. We do the Lucas Oil Power Wingless Auto Racing Series races. We did just about every one of their races live this year. I think that's the plans for us to do again next year. Alan Staley does a great job for us with those broadcasts. He's been with us now for a few years. He started out doing the broadcast for us with the Racing Boys ASCS Warrior Region, and he did that this year. But I think he's going to move on and just stick with the non-wing stuff next year. And we're looking forward to having him back and doing those broadcasts. It's been a huge asset there. So, Wingless Auto Racing Series, a really thriving non-wing sprint car series. I think we had somewhere around 50, 60 cars down at the Lucas Oil Speedway with the Jesse Hockett Gaming McMillan Memorial. And that thing just keeps going by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and then talk about Iowa added a new track this year last year on the schedule. You got to go to 34 Raceway.
Yeah, we went up to West Burlington. Is that what you're talking about? West Burlington, right? Yeah. We went up there and had a good time at the national tour. It was a heck of a grind for us that weekend. If you remember right, when we got done racing at West Burlington, we had to travel overnight to Lake Ozark Speedway where we had a 2-day show. So 5 or 6 hours, a long night for everybody, but we enjoyed our time up there at West Burlington.
Yeah, and the disappointment was the non-wing the next night got rained out.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that whole scenario is that we did the live video with the national tour up there the night before, and we were scheduled to do the live audio the next night when they got rained out. So we were a little bummed out here at Race Boys that we were able to get that one in.
Yeah, and then of course during the nationals, the traditional Oski stop.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for us, Terry, and he's the only promoter on the national tour that doesn't allow us to do a standard ASCS national tour race. He's afraid that people will stay in the seats. The seats in the campgrounds and not come to the races. I've tried to convince him otherwise. I don't think that it would be a national section like he thinks it would be, but that's his choice. Yeah. So we don't get to go up there and do that broadcast, and we don't get to do the ASCS 360 Nationals as well. So those are the only two events of the year that we don't get to broadcast.
Yeah, but you're there doing stuff anyways.
Yeah, we go there, we shoot video, we put packages together, all that kind of stuff. But it's we feel bad that for the pilots week in and week out, which is our all access pass for Racing Race. Don't get to watch that race, but maybe someday we'll be able to talk Terry into it.
Yeah, and Terry's slowly letting people film it anyways.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that's his choice, but I have a hard time convincing him that people are not going to stay in the campground. Real race fans, real sprint car fans will be correct. Because, sprint car fans are different than the cat and everybody else, right? Yeah. Real sprint car fans are not going to stay in the campgrounds of the Knoxville when there's a big race like that going on over at Oski. There's maybe one or two, but for the most part, passionate sprint car fans are going to leave those campgrounds, go to Oski and watch that race.
I don't think so either. And that's about the best 10 days of the year, I think.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. That's my favorite time of the year. It comes right off the hills of us when we just wrap up our trip out to the Pacific Northwest. We'll go out there and we'll race at Skagit for Dirt Cup for those 3 days. Then the next week we'll go up to Grays Harbor, Elmer, Washington for the Fred Brownfield Classic. We do 2 nights there, and then we start easing our way back to the Midwest. And we go to places like Black Hills, Aberdeen, Billings, Montana, Belgrade, Montana, places like that. So, and then we wrap it up by going to Knoxville for 11 days. So, yeah, it's pretty much a grind that time of year.
Yeah. And then speaking of the Montana race, are they getting a new grizzly bear for next year? I heard that news.
Yeah, Adam is retiring. He's 18 years old. He looks a little tired this year. In fact, to be honest with you, the last 2 years, he's looked like he's turned into an old man. So I don't know what they're going to do. I know in the press release when they announced that he was retiring, that they were looking into trying to come up with another bear, but everybody's pretty comfortable with Adam. I don't know if everybody's going to be quite as comfortable with the new bear.
Yeah. And then one of the guys we can talk about is Josh Hagwood, and missing him on the tour big time. Any good stories? Josh Hagwood, any good stories about him?
Josh, he's a great kid, man. We all love him, and he means so much to everybody on the ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. He's got all these teams he's affiliated with, and he's very passionate about that. He's been raised right by his parents. His parents are awesome, and they do whatever it takes to make Josh be a part of everything that goes on in sprint car racing. And it was a great bit that we saw that they did on him here a while back.
Yeah.
I think Josh is a cool little dude, man. I think the heck out of him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's going to be on in the Thanksgiving week.
Oh, wow, that'll be a good interview.
He's been looking forward for sure when he did the Hall of Fame one.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. And then basically no team changes for the Racing Boys.
No real changes for us this year. We're just blessed that Emmett Hahn and Fuzzy Hahn and all the Hahn family believe in racing boys and continue to stick with us. We're planning on going back out there next year, be our 12th year broadcasting the ASCS National Tour. I've been out there 12 years with them. So looking forward to getting back out there. Always looking forward to seeing some of the drivers. Doesn't sound like we're going to lose a lot this year. It sounds like we're going to keep a lot of our drivers from last year. I'm not sure about Sam yet. We'll hope for he'll come back and go for number 5. I know that he's planning on having a meeting with Miles Hill. We just did an interview with him tonight on our show, The Passing Point, and he said that he was going to have a meeting with Miles Hill at the PRI show, and that they're planning on getting it all worked out, figure out what they're going to do next year. So we hope that he comes back, and it sounds like everybody else is planning on coming back with us next year. So we're looking forward to that. It should be an exciting time in 2020. We had a great point race, bringing guys like Roger Crockett and Scott Batuski and John Carney II, and you had those people, and Tucker Dowdy did a good job towards the end of the year, really coming on strong. Jordan Mallett, 2-time ASCS, USCS champion, he came and ran with us this year, showed huge improvement from the start of the year to what he had right here at the end of the year. So pretty excited about next year. We got a great group of young talent, and looking forward to seeing how they can make progress in their careers. They try to run with the national tour next year.
I have a couple more questions. The first one on working together the 2 Oklahoma series. I can't think of what it is in the Sooner region.
The ASCS Sooner region?
And the other one, I can't think of it.
Well, I'm not sure which series that you're talking
about. The oil one?
OCRS.
Yeah, that they're trying to work together more.
Yeah, oil capital races. Yeah, that would be great. We've been broadcasting a few of the OCRS races, and I know there's been talk about us broadcasting the races next year. We'd love to be able to pull that off if we could. But Zach Chappell doing a good job down there. He's 2-time champion with the OCRS. Harley White has won that championship before, so it's a really good place to learn how to prepare yourself to move on to maybe ASCS. So, yeah, Zach Chappell, the youngest driver to ever win a national tour championship with us. He did that at the young age of 19 years old, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and then any good Gary Wright stories?
Well, Gary Wright stories. Gary Wright, I promoted a race. I did one race a year, and one particular year I was promoting a race at Osborne, Missouri. Most people call it Cameron, US 36. And Gary took a huge rock to the face, busted his helmet wide open, and really it rang his bell. He said he didn't even know where he was at for about a lap and a half. But he continued to run. He slowed down a little bit, but that was a scary deal for Gary. Busted his helmet up. We missed Gary Wright. In fact, we just got our hands on some miniature Gary Wright diecast, little bitty cars from the 07 season, and we've been selling them. They've been very popular on the Racing Boys t-shirt trailer. But Gary Wright, I'll just say it, one of my all-time favorite people I've met traveling up and down the road with the national tour. I can't tell you how much I think of that guy.
And then the story you guys have been following for the longest time, the I-70, what's the update on that?
Well, I-70 Speedway, as you know, closed in 2007. It was a pavement track. That track opened in 1969 as a pavement track. It was a pavement track until 2000 when Greg Wells from Weld Wheels bought the racetrack from the Roberts family. He had that thing open from, what was that? He had that open from, that would have been 1980 to 1988. The Roberts family ended up getting the racetrack back from Greg. They took the dirt off of it. In fact, I just put up a couple videos from 89 and 90 up on the I-70 Speedway page. And it was a pavement track from 1988 until it closed in 2007 when the new ownership that bought it in 2000, the the county of Lafayette County, they had to go back in there and make an amendment on some of the CUP, conditional use permit stuff, and they did that, and it looks like they'll be up and running sometime next year, hopefully.
Okay, and we appreciate your time tonight, and hopefully see you next year
sometime.
sometime.
So you just be sure to give us a call.
Yeah.
We'd love to do it.
Thanks.
Anyways, type in your Google machine the Racing Boys, and I'll have more information on the upcoming pay-per-views for Chili Bowl and the shootout. We appreciate Scott's time. Until next week, go keep supporting your local dirt tracks, or if you can't, your local dirt tracks closed for the year, keep watching them online. This is the first time we've done two guests together, so here's the interview.
Well, our guest on the Dirt Racing Podcast is Chase and Kobe Johnson, brothers from California. How's it going, guys?
Great. How are you?
Good. Chase, you had a rough weekend last weekend.
Yeah, it didn't go to plan, that's for sure. We got upside down in hot laps the first night, and then the second night got upside down in qualifying. So definitely was not a good couple of nights, but that's how the racing thing goes sometimes.
We've seen the pictures. What does the axle was broken from the night before? What happened on the rear end?
The axle snapped right by the birdcage. So when that happened, we went up and over.
Not good.
Nope, not good at all.
And then Kobe, you're going to be running a midget coming up, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be running the Hangtown 100 at Placerville with Morris Insurance. So that'll be real fun. It'll be my first time in a midget, so a little bit unexperienced, but I think I'll be fine in it.
And will there be a chance we get to see you run the Nationals someday like your brother?
I'm hoping so. I mean, I definitely just need some people to believe in me, but I've got a strong group of people around me, and hopefully one day I can get there.
That would be nice, and maybe do the 360 as well.
Yeah, I've done some USAC CRA shows in the non-link 360, but hopefully I can get out to a national race. I'm running Turkey Night, so
yeah,
Turkey Night will be a USAC national race.
Yeah.
Other than that, not yet.
And then, of course, Chase has been to Knoxville a bunch.
Yeah, he's a big track guy.
And how was your success this year?
Who, me or Chase?
Both of you.
I think I had a pretty good season. I had a lot of troubles dealing with motors and chassis and bars, and so I felt like we struggled a lot in the beginning of the nights for most race nights, but towards the end of the nights we always came out strong. So had some ups and downs, but yeah, it worked out really well. Had a couple wins, and then the podium with USAC CRA, and hopefully get on the podium again with USAC.
And then Chase?
We had a good year. I can't complain at all. I think we had nine wins right now, so we've won in every different type of car that I've drove. So it's been a pretty awesome year, and been surrounded by a lot of great people that made it all happen. Definitely couldn't do it with all the different teams that I drive for and different people that I'm associated with. So to do that and to win in all the cars is pretty special. Definitely makes it a special year when you do that, especially when you have 9 wins.
And then you guys, for the 68 team, Sean does his own motors?
Yeah, Sean builds all his own stuff, so that's pretty rare, especially this day and age, and especially with the how competitive we are and the series we run and the races we run. It's definitely not easy to do, and he does them, and also my dad does all our 360 stuff too. So a lot of home built engines around us, and a lot of pride and a lot of time put in them too.
And then what age did you start for Chase?
Both me and Colby started at age 5. We started in the outlaw carts, and I transitioned straight from the outlaw carts to the sprint cars at age 14, and then Colby actually he got a micro sprint ride with Steve Kaiser, so he went from outlaw carts to micro sprints and then to sprint cars.
At Cycleland?
Yeah, we ran Cycleland, Red Bluff, Lakeport, Dixon, Ukiah, pretty much all Northern California outlaw kart tracks. Got quite a bit of them around us, so raced a lot when we were younger, all summer, all winter, because the indoor racing scene's big up here too. So, raced a lot when we were younger and in the outlaw carts and enjoyed all that.
Yeah, and then explain, are you racing anywhere else this year for sure, Chase?
Well, we're gonna run. Both me and Colby will be at the Hangtown 100, running the midgets there, and then after that, I will go down to Bakersfield and run the midget USAC National Midget Race in Bakersfield, and then Turkey Night is that following week. So I'll be running the midget in the sprint car there, and Colby will be there with us in the sprint car as well.
And can you explain the pits to Placerville if somebody's not been there? And it's kind of an uphill climb.
Oh, for Placerville's a cool place. It's kind of built into a hill, so the track is actually kind of, I guess the easier way to put it, on kind of like the lower side of the hill. The pits and everything are way above the track, and you look straight down onto the track, and it's definitely interesting. And I've never really been to another place like it, and I don't think Colby has either, where you kind of look down at the track. So it's definitely really unique and gives you a cool, different, viewing point. That's for sure, being in the pits.
What track would you like to race, first of all, Chase, that you haven't?
What was that?
What track would you like to race you haven't yet?
Oh, a bunch. A bunch. There's a ton of good tracks out there. I think a lot in Pennsylvania and Ohio is kind of a region that I've never been to before. And I think there's also, I've been lucky enough to run in Indiana a couple times, but I think there's still a lot of tracks there that I'd like to run different type of cars. And there's a bunch of different cool racing places and tracks that I'd love to do, and they're definitely on the bucket list for sure.
Maybe overseas too?
Oh yeah, New Zealand is definitely one big one on the bucket list. I think that would be a blast. Australia as well, running over there. So I know they got the speed car and midget championship over in New Zealand. That's really big. And then they got the sprint cars that are really big over in Australia. So doing one of those would be pretty awesome as well.
And what about you, Colby?
To be honest, I really like all the tracks that USAC with the midgets go to. They run some pretty cool tracks like Jacksonville and such. But there's a lot of the wing sprint car stuff out there. I'm not too fond of big tracks, but I really like watching them at like smaller tracks. So one of my favorites for wing sprint cars probably, I like Lawrenceburg's big, but I feel like it's pretty racy, or Eldora's pretty big, but it's pretty racy. But I feel like there's a lot of tracks out there that are just so fast that it gets almost uncompetitive.
Yeah. And then talk about the foundation for Marcus Johnson, if you could.
Marcus passed away in 2013, and his mom and dad have created the Marcus Johnson Foundation, which is they help supply shoes to people that don't afford it and can't afford it and aren't in good situations. So they kind of help out on the financial side for kids in need for sports and schools.
I did the research, but I didn't really want to ask the question. I knew about your dirt interview for the We Are Dirt documentary.
Yep.
So I kind of know the backstory.
Yep, exactly. No, they those guys did a great job filming, and kind of explaining the story. And, there's a lot of filtered out stuff that a lot of details that kind of are left out. But that's the story. And that was pretty cool being a part of the We Are Dirt. And a good chance to, share my story and help give some positivity to some other people in deep and dark situations. So, it was cool being a part of it. They did a great job on the film.
And then what's plans for 2020? Up in the air still?
I don't think me and Colby really have, too much set in stone for next year. I think we're going to wait until, schedules come out. Try our hardest to find the right opportunities in the off season and sponsorships and whatnot, and just kind of look at schedules and see exactly what we can do, what car owners want to do, and go from there.
Okay, and then
busy when all the schedules come out.
Yeah. And then do you have a website so people can keep track?
Yeah. I got ChaseJohnsonRacing.com, and then both me and Colby have our Facebook fan page, which is Colby Johnson Racing, and then Chase Johnson Racing on Facebook. And those are updated, almost weekly. So for all the latest news, you could definitely go there. That'd be a great source of information.
And get the gear because it's that holiday time.
Exactly, yeah. We got apparel. We got a lot of Colby Johnson stuff and a lot of Chase Johnson stuff left. So it's hoodie season, so we definitely have hoodies available, and we'll also have a whole bunch of new stuff coming out soon. So there's always plenty of apparel to keep everyone warm.
I have a couple more questions for each of you.
Go ahead.
What's your favorite track in California?
Man, that's a tough one. I get asked that a lot. I don't really have a favorite. I try not to play favorites, but I think Calistoga is really cool, and also Tulare is really cool too. And then you have a lot of cool tracks like Ocean and Placerville. But I think there's so many good ones. I think a favorite for me would probably be Ocean or Tulare. And then I don't know what Colby thinks.
I'm kind of on the same page as Chase here. One of my favorite tracks of all time is actually Watsonville, and it's honestly a really competitive track. It gets slick up to the curb, and it's pretty hammered down there, so it's kind of my style. And also Tulare's pretty similar. I like running the top a lot. I like when it slicks off to a curb and gets real racy. So those are my two favorite tracks in California. There's a lot of some of the shorter, like short tracks. I struggle with a little bit, but I really enjoy tracks like Ocean and Tulare.
Of course, Tulare is a cowboy up, as I call it.
Yeah, we got a lot of those out here. Yeah.
And then, do you help each other, give pointers when you're both racing against each other?
Yeah, we do a lot. I think, a little bit on the car side as well. Trying stuff because, me and Colby are pretty set up, pretty identical. So there's a lot of situations where we're not too sure what's the right decision car setup wise. And, we'll throw something in my car and I'll go out for qualifying and see if it works. Then Colby will get it too. Or if it doesn't, we'll make those adjustments for Colby's and try to make him better. But there's also a lot of times that me and Colby do talk a lot throughout the night. Me just asking him, if he's feeling this too, or what he's feeling, or, different questions he has for me of what he's feeling in the car and how I can help or what. But there's a lot of communication throughout the night. We try to help each other the best we can.
Yeah, and also going off what Chicks was saying about how communication works out for both of us. Throughout the whole night, I feel like it's different with Chase compared to other teammates because I feel like me and Chase kind of not only help each other with the setup, but we really help each other with track lines and where to go and who's doing what and so forth. And if one of us doesn't make the main, we'll be up on the fence giving hand signals to each other. So it's pretty cool having a close connection with Chase and being comfortable enough where we're helping each other out.
Yeah, and then I've watched get to see enough of your guys' races through the page. How did your mom go to every one if you guys are at different places?
There's a lot of time where, most or every weekend throughout the summer we're at different tracks. So,
she goes to mine because she likes me more.
Yeah, exactly. Mom and Dad go with Colby, and then they're able to either try to watch my stuff live or live feed through Facebook or Race Monitor or whatnot to keep updated. But Mom and Dad go and tackle Colby's stuff, and my girlfriend Haley, she comes with me to my stuff, and then we get Grandma Judy in there as well. That comes to one or the other, whatever's closer. So a lot of family involved too.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and good luck for this weekend
no problem.
The next couple races.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome.
And if you're going to complain that it got annoying, I had to dress by name. It was so much easier when I asked a question.
Welcome back to the Dirt Race. Welcome back to the Dirt Racing Podcast. Today we have the man himself of Chick Magnet Motorsports, Josh Haygood. How's it going?
It's going good. Get ready for 2020 race season. I just would like to thank all my fans and family. For all the support. Without that, I wouldn't even be here doing this right now. Or, without them, I wouldn't be doing what I've been doing the last 9 years, working on sprint cars and traveling all around the world. And without all that, I wouldn't even be here.
Hang on. Yeah, that's recorded. Next question. First of all, you have, like Wayne Johnson says later, you're the Rick Hendrick of ownership.
Yeah, I don't, I can put my name on the list of that, but right now it's just another thing that I gotta focus on is getting myself out there and getting my name out there and my motorsports out there. I just want to make sure that I'm the one that's noticed around here, because anytime you go to a racetrack, it can be in Burlington, Knoxville, Donaldson, or Volusia, or in Creek County. Everybody knows who I am, and that's because I come to work every day and make sure that my job is to make sure that I have one of my cars in Richmond Lane, and that's what I want to do.
And then going back, you just celebrated the championship with Brian Brown last weekend.
Yeah, that was very special to me. To have my first championship as a CEO and a owner, and then after that, getting the team owner award from him. He's been on my team the last 2 years, and without him, I wouldn't even be doing what I've been doing for the last 4 years with my motorsport stuff and working on my own sprint car stuff for the last 9 years.
And I know locally you have a couple drivers here locally. How did this all start, first of all?
Well, first of all, I was at the shop because my dad and Larry own the shop over across the street from here. And, I walked in the office one day. Jamie was down in Des Moines. And as soon as he turned around and saw me, he's like, "Here, I got something for you." I opened up the present, and then it had my motorsports on the hat, and then 3 of my drivers on the back of it. That's when it first started with Chick Magnet Motorsports back in 2016. And then it started growing and growing and growing after that. So, Chris Martin came on board at like the last half of the season in 2017, during back in August of that. And, and then when I was on the road when I was on the road with ASCS, Johnny Herrera and Blake Hahn and Harley White wanted to be on the team. So then that's when all that, came about with them being on board, and, just, they and then, Matt Covington has been on for the last 4 years as well. He came on board back in 2016 as well. So without all those drivers, like I said, I wouldn't even be here without them.
And of course, we'll have Wayne Johnson a little later in the show. And then Brian Holbert, when I was talking to him, we talked a little bit about the Mint with the Magnet. Can you explain that a little more?
Well, it first, it first started like back in 2018, like the first race at Dulles Bowl when Jamie run the whole tour from 2018. That's when all the Minute with the Magnet started, and that's when he's a pretty good expert to ASCS, because he's the announcer and he does a really good job, and you know, without lights up Brian Holber and Scott Trailer, doing the things with Racing Boys and having their live pay-per-views and with the radios and everything else. Because like I said, I love going to a racetrack and knowing what I'm supposed to do once I get there. And my expectations are just come out here and win, because that's what the fans want, and I'm gonna give it to them every time I come out here. So that's another thing. That's another reason why I love my job, is um, because the fans, they come here every weekend, buy their ticket, and come see their favorite driver, and then sit in their seats, and then come down and see us afterwards. And with all that, I wouldn't even be doing what I'm doing.
We'll have more with the Magnet in a few minutes, as we're going to transition and listen to some other people, some words from them. Now, part 2 with the Magnet. In August, you did your first interview during the Nationals at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my first interview was back in August here on Friday of the 410 Nationals. I had high expectations to come in and try to win on Friday night, but there was a lot of top competition here during Nationals. You gotta be on your A game when it comes to Nationals around here, because there's lights of Logan Schuchart, Jacob Allen, Shane Stewart, David Gravel, Donnie Schatz, and these other guys, and they're here to win. I mean, because if because that's everyone's goal around here, is to win Nationals. And once you arrive here in Knoxville, and you gotta draw a good number and be on top of your game here, because if you don't draw good, you're gonna be behind the 8 ball around here. And and plus you got Brad Sweet, last year's Nationals winner, and plus Darren Pittman and everybody else that runs the Outlaws around. So it's and plus it's gonna be tough around here in Knoxville. Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow around here, and try to start a good number, draw a good number around here, start up front and try to win that, and then try to make it out of your heat, because you're gonna have a stacked heat race around here. So you just gotta come out here and do your job and try to make it in A main, and because once Saturday night comes, you gotta make sure that you're locked in for Saturday night's A main, and trying to put some good try to put together what the car can do around here, because that gives the crew guys feedback around here. So you just you just gotta do your job around here, and hopefully you can win out here. But like I said, you just gotta draw good, start out front, and try to win it.
Then you brought up the fact with Friday night's format, the mulligan basically the night before your driver Shane Stewart had quick time, and then in the heat race had adversity.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes things happen around here. It's not because I mean, you just never know what could happen around here. So you just uh, you know, um, but Shane had a really good car team. Tyler Ray and Dennis Flood and without them guys, Shane wouldn't. They had another car upstairs, and those guys spent all night getting that car ready for Friday, and we had a podium around a third place podium, and that put us in the A main for Saturday. So we didn't, nationals wasn't what we wanted to have, but same time, we just gotta come back stronger next year, and hopefully we're in that A main again come Saturday.
Yeah, and then but the regular season for Brian Brown here, anytime he was here, was impressive.
Oh yeah, Chad Morgan and Nate and Robert Brian's dad, they do a really good job around here too. Because like I said before this interview, I always want to make sure that my drivers are good to go, and I want because like I said, I'm not out here to make any friends or anything like that, because when it comes to racing, nobody makes friends around here. We come out here for one reason only, is to put a show on for the fans, and then after that we'll celebrate.
And of course, across the street with Fireball.
Yeah, I love going to Dingus around here. So I mean, because once you walk in the Dingus, everybody knows who everybody knows who you are, and they respect what you do for this business, and for me to put my name out there, and that's just it. This is why I love what I do, and and plus my dad's been around. Before I started sprint cars, my dad and Jamie and Nick DeMoss and Devin Klein raced go karts from at English Creek, and then Jamie raced go karts from '06 to 09, and then 2010 came around back in May. That's when he started sprint car racing from there, and then that's when I started my sprint car career from that. So. Like I said, without all my friends and family, without Jamie and Larry and everybody else, I wouldn't even be able to do what I do.
Do you have merchandise for people if they're wondering?
Yep. My race pass did my merchandise, but because I was at PRI last year, and that's when I put all that together for that, and then they came on board, and that's when all my merchandise was online, and my race pass did a website for me. So if anybody needs merchandise or stuff like that, go to chickmagnetmotorsportsracing.com or go to my race pass to get your merchandise.
And then just talk about individually all your drivers. So in case you hadn't mentioned who they all are and their numbers.
Jamie Ball is the driver of the White Lightning Motorsports 5J. And Harley White is the driver of the 17W car. Brian Brown's the driver of the Casey's FVP. Charlie Garrett motor engines car. So like I said, without all my drivers, without all my teams, without all my fans and family, I wouldn't even be where I'm at in my life. So, and sprint car racing is my life, and it's been my life for the last 9 years, and I'm ready to go for number 10 next year.
Did you get to see the grizzly bear at the Grizzly Nationals?
I sure did. Back in 2018, I was about to run away from it. it was standing right close to me, and I thought it was gonna either eat me or eat Matt. So I was just gonna be getting on the run, but yeah, to win the first night Grizzly Nationals is it's one of the best. It's one of the coolest races to go to, the Grizzly Nationals, and you just gotta, if you want to be in Virgin Lane, you gotta make sure you're there. So, and be on the lookout for a grizzly bear for sure.
You mentioned Chili Bowl. Fans can find you there real easy.
Oh yes, I've been, Chili Bowl is one of the most prestigious races to go to in January. Because a lot of drivers go out there to race, and they want to be in the winner's circle, and they want to be in the main for Saturday night. You just, there's, last year they started from Monday all the way through Saturday, and there's a lot of prelim nights. You gotta, try to start off good and try to be in the main for Saturday night because, like I said, there's a lot of cars, you know, that wants to be in it, but you gotta have a team in the car to do it. So, but yeah, there's a lot of fans out there that knows about me, and I uh, I had fun last year at Chili Bowl, so I am I'm ready to go for 2020 Chili Bowl. I've been counting down and staying focused on that, and I'm ready to be back in Tulsa.
Like you say, Tulsa time.
Yep, Tulsa time.
Any tracks you would love to go to that you haven't been to yet?
There's a lot of them on the schedule. There's a lot of them, like the Kings Royal, the Brad Daugherty Classic. Uh, there's some other tracks on the planet that I would like to go to, but um, I just I mean, I love going to tracks. It's if it's a 3/8 mile or half mile or 1/4 mile, I'll be glad to go to whatever's around, and to go race. And like I said, with all my like I said, racing is my life, and I will and it's not nothing's gonna stop me from doing what I've been doing the last 9 years. And I'm gonna be prepared for next year, and hopefully we can walk out with the second championship. And because yeah, so like I said, so, and then that's my goal right now, is to win another second championship.
This is a hypothetical question. If you could have another driver, who would you want to have?
That's a question up in the air right now. There's a lot of people that want to be on my team, because they ask, and um, so right now I just got, I'm focusing on my drivers right now. So without, like I said, this is my life, and I've worked for, you know, I've, it's everybody's dream to come out to a racetrack when they're a small little kid, small, growing up, and, dreaming big one time, maybe that one time they can come to Knoxville Raceway, and I've been living that dream for the last 9 years. So, I mean, because it's everybody's dream to come out here and race at Knoxville. So, you gotta come out here and dream big, because some people think it's not only a dream, but I mean, because it is a dream. So I've been dreaming about that moment for the last 9 years.
And maybe $150,000 check sometime down the line.
Maybe. I would. That would. $150 would be awesome right now, but you know, but you know, but that's and plus that's the reason why you gotta have a race car and a race team and truck trailer. You gotta have money for that, and you gotta have the right car, the right team, the right owner, and basically you just gotta come out here and do your job, and if you want to win, that's the reason why you gotta be out here. So
Then your Jamie's Truck and Trailer is an interesting story.
yeah, well, one time back in May of 2018, I think. It was either May or June. It was May. I was getting my workout in, and he texted me, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to come to the shop." And he came to my house and picked me up, and we went to the shop. And as soon as I got out of the truck, my body was on the back of the trailer, sitting by the car, just waving at people. So it's pretty amazing to have a semi with a trailer, and then have me on the back of it. So when I'm down the road, everybody can just wave at me.
Has anybody ever stopped the team and go, "Your trailer door's down"?
No, nobody has ever said that to us when we're on the road. Because we gotta make sure that our trailer's locked. We can't have the door just coming flying down the whole time. So, so like I said, man, racing is where it's at, and I'm prepared for 2020.
Okay, we appreciate it. Does your person you brought have anything to say?
You can if you want.
I'm good.
We appreciate, and this is a good Thanksgiving story, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, man. Like I said, without all my friends, man, and family, and all my supporters, I would not be able to do what I've been doing for the last 9 years. And they push me every day to be, because they remind me of who I am, and the more, that motivates me more, is because, they know what I expect, and so there wouldn't be any motivation without all these people that I have. So, they feel me to be who I am, and the more motivated, the more focused I am, the more ready I'll be.
Welcome to the Dirt Racing Podcast. My guest is Rick on the Sport Compacts. How's it going, Rick?
It's a wonderful day down here in Texas. How things in the Midwest?
Cold.
If it's anything like down here,
What was that?
I said if it's anything like what we're dealing with down here, then you guys are definitely cold up there.
Yeah. I'm ready to go racing.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyways, you run what's the name of your group you run again?
Southern Sport Compacts.
Because this show's all about Sport Compacts. We also have We Love Sport Compacts.
Yes.
And basically we try to help each other out.
Correct. We feed off each other pretty well, it seems like.
Yep. Then there's some new tracks for you guys.
Dude, we have almost exploded with new tracks this off-season. We have added 4 new tracks in Texas alone for bringing in the front-wheel drive and the compacts this upcoming season. And a few years ago, we only had, I think, 3 in the state, and now we're up to close to a dozen.
Yeah. And basically this is the class, if you would say, back to the old days, it's close to taking a car off the street.
It's not too far from that. I mean, you get a proper car and gut the interior out, knock the windows out, put a cage in it, and go have some fun with your safety gear.
Yeah. And it's a fun class, too.
It's a fun class with a lot of competitive racing. With the cars being pretty comparable, that helps out a lot. But a lot of fun, close races down here, at least. And for the most part, they're even exciting races. And so it's definitely a fun class.
But the pay, we won't get into that.
If you know the pay ahead of time, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, but there's a couple. Yeah, that's the biggest problem up here. There's a couple tracks they don't get very many cars because of the pay.
Well, if all the track, now I'm not a track promoter. I don't know how tracks do their things and how they make their decisions, but if the tracks are pretty much comparable, then it comes down to the facilities for the drivers. But if you have, just for conversation and example, if you have a track 45 miles away from you or 60 miles away from you and they pay more on payout, then you're competing against that track and you're going to have to get the cars.
Yeah, one of the better paid tracks we have, and they paid a points fund for the champion, $750 this year.
That's what the track champion got?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And they got about 20 cars a week because of it.
Yeah. Well, how many people actually race her because of the points payout at the end of the season? Most of the time it would be weekly that matters more.
It varied, but it was close to 20 cars each week.
Very nice.
And then you have some that are local.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get some of the places up north, and it's like 5 cars.
Well, we have that at tracks down here where we have a track down in San Antonio that averages, I'm going to guess, around 19, 20 cars a week. We have other tracks that average 4 and 5. Now, part of that is because we're still pretty new to a lot of tracks in a lot of areas down here. The pay is pretty comparable. Mostly it's just people not knowing what to get. So, but the classes are still building at tracks. It takes some attention from the tracks to help build them and everything, of course. But it seems like a lot of tracks have a hard time having a full field on their front wheel drives.
Yeah, and there's so many different tracks too.
That helps you, but it also hurts you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have 2 big races in the state. They moved the USRA race championship.
It's no longer in Iowa?
Yeah, it is. It's at Hamilton County. That.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Super Nationals in Boone. Which they treated everybody a little nicer this year than the year before.
Yeah, they actually allowed them to race?
Yeah, because of the rain and stuff the year before.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it just helps to get these groups to promote. And that's what I love about your guys and the other, is we work well together.
Yes. Yeah, I think we actually have some drivers this upcoming season that are actually making a trip up to Boone.
Yeah.
For the first time. And I think we've had maybe one car ever make the feature at Boone from Texas.
Yeah. Tech, they were so picky this past year.
That's good. They need to be picky.
That's about the only time they are.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you did a big race yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we don't really have a whole lot down here that caters to a true big race. We got, most of the tracks that we run at or have the option of running at down here, on their big shows offer a bigger payout. But then we held our first inaugural Rabbit Rundown, which at a Big O Speedway in Ennis, and they branded a $1,000 to win with qualifiers, of course. And then we had our bump and run / Australian pursuit style rundown after that, which was pretty cool. And actually, a guy from Oklahoma won that. So, good times.
Yeah. It's just, you go hang out with your friends, race, and that's the part I love.
Well, yes. And we've got a close enough group down here that we've got maybe 18, 20 drivers at any given time need help. Someone's there to help out. You know, and it's not like we all live in the same neighborhood. We live, I got one driver that lives about 5 miles away from me. The next closest driver is 60 miles or so away from me. But, you know, if I need help on something, or especially if I'm stuck on the side of the road or whatever, we got a close enough group that I know that I can get help, and I've actually gotten help from another driver and everything. And that's what we call, you know, the mentality, that's what we call our mafia down here. Of, you know, drivers helping each other out, be it at the track, away from the track, or completely away from racing altogether. So I think that's one thing that we have that benefits from other classes. We have drivers that want the other drivers on the track, and, you know, if you don't have cars on the track, what are you racing?
Exactly. And then I know up here, it's some of the tracks just try to go against each other.
Well, we have that here. You're always going to have that. You know, the tracks are competing. Like I said earlier, I think it helps the track, but also hurts the track. You know, there's always drama. There's always going to be negativity. But, you know, if people would work together, tracks, again, I'm not a promoter, so I don't know the behind the scenes of the track. I know a little bit, got to learn last year as the tech and the, you know, person who ran the Hornet class at Big O. But, so there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't know about. But yeah, when the tracks compete against each other, that makes it difficult.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, one track, I won't name the name, purposely went against another track because he got fired at the track at running it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just he tried to, and then he scheduled, oh, well, they had a race. I'll just have my big race too. Yeah. When's your first race down there?
February 7th. I think they call it the Smackdown at RPM Speedway up in Crandall, Texas. We have 5 races scheduled for February, but the 7th, the 15th, the 21st, the 22nd, and the 29th.
We're looking maybe March up here, if lucky.
Yeah. Well, that's what most of our tracks have the schedule, like the actual championship schedule starts. But we have the benefit of IMCA, their annual stock car tour that hits down here. You know, it's 5 races in 7 days, or 7 races in 9 days, or something like that. We have the benefit of some of the tracks that have added us for next year of actually allowing us to race those nights. You know, more time on the track, more time for people to see the cars and everything. And going against what we just talked about a while ago, knowing that nobody else is racing, that kind of helps them get more cars to show the class off.
And plus, it's on IMCA TV, isn't it?
I think so. So I don't know if they're going to record or they'll air the compact race at the Fall Classic last year. It could have just been because of scheduling and how late the races ran with the rain and everything, but they cut off the show before the compacts even got on the track. So it just kind of depends on what they're airing.
I think that they try to do everything if they're there. If it's not
right.
Too late.
We also have raceontexas.com that is at a lot of tracks recording also. So.
Yeah, and then just getting the word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody was going to do a car for a kid. Did I read that right? Was trying to help a kid out?
As far as a compact?
Yeah, in your guys' group?
No, I don't know about a car for a kid. I know that the guys that run RPM, and RPM is one of the tracks that are adding us this year, and they're adding us as the USRA tuners. They'll be they were our first announced USRA track, and they're doing it. They're working with the local school district, and the school is in their shop program is actually building a car that will be raffled off after it's complete.
Okay, that's why I didn't know all the details.
Yeah. So we got out there on the group and we tried to help find a car that someone was willing to donate and everything. And like I said, the school program itself, they're actually going to do the full build. Day Motorsports is on board to help them out as far as getting parts and stuff. The thing that helps us out on that is from what I understand, that as they build the cage for this Cavalier, they're taking the measurements and basically creating a jig, and Day Motorsports will actually offer an actual sport compact cage in the near future instead of it being a mini stock cage that we kind of alter for our cars.
Okay.
So there's good things coming out of it for the community, for the track, for the drivers, and everything. So it's a really cool program that the Kevins up at RPM Speedway are doing on that.
I'm trying to think which Kevin that is.
Kevin Rogers and Kevin Sestair.
Yeah, I knew which one. I couldn't remember.
Yep. And in Casey Hares that's where you go, the hashtag Wheelman.
Yeah.
So,
and then you guys were doing a points series. You were talking about that. Anything latest on that?
We're still finalizing the details. We are going to have our first Southern Sport Compact Points Championship. We're still working on some of the prizes and stuff, and like I said, the fine tuning of the point system. We are going to make it limited to a certain number of drivers. It is a buy-in, so it's completely on the drivers. So, and it'll run from February 1st to the end of October. And then it's a normal point system, 1st through 20th. If you're finished 21st at a track, then you get 20th point spot.
Yeah.
We're creating bonus point systems in there. We also have penalty points in there for some of the stupid stuff we can do. But so it should be pretty good. It's we've got some sponsors on board already that are going to do prizes and awards at the end of the season. So we've got, like I said, just got some details going on, but we're finalizing it, and we should have that rolled out here by the end of the month, so everyone can start figuring out what they want to do. And the cool thing about this one, we took the idea off of what you guys did at the We Love Sport Compacts page last year.
It was a nightmare each week to figure out.
Right. So what we're doing, and that's one reason why we're doing a limited number of drivers. We're not letting just everybody in. We're only letting the first 20 or 30, whichever we end up with. So we don't have so much to track down, because we all live lives, and we're not going to spend 24/7. Like you said, it was a nightmare, and I live enough nightmares. I don't need to live one in racing. But it'll be any driver that signs up for it will, no matter what track they run at, they will accumulate points for their finish that night. The example I give is if you want to take your car up to Anchorage and do a race somewhere up in Alaska, then you still get points for it down here on the southern side. So that way we've got a lot of people, a lot of drivers this year that are wanting to start traveling and visiting different tracks. So we wanted to make it where you can, and you're not penalized. You don't lose points because of it. And again, there'll be some qualifiers in there. It's only we're not going to count every weekend because not everybody races every weekend. So we want to make it so anybody has a chance. So it should be pretty entertaining. It'll be a headache at first, I'm certain, but anytime something new is always a headache.
Yeah.
Typically, but it'll be a good time. So, and like I said, we'll roll that out here by the end of the month, and we'll keep that updated on the Southern Sport Compacts Facebook page and everything. So, yeah, so it should be good.
We're just, both of us are passionate, and we just try to keep it going.
Say it again.
We just are both passionate. We try to keep it going for good.
Well, yeah, and that's passion to a fault. So, but yeah, exactly. You gotta do what you can to keep the entertainment and the fun in it. A lot of I don't race other classes. I've never raced other classes. I've been a part of other classes, through crewing and everything, and it seems like there's a lot of unnecessary stress almost, where a lot of people forget, especially nowadays, a lot of people forget that, one, you're out there to have fun, and you need to make sure you're having fun, and no matter how badly you want to win, there's 15 other cars on the track that want to win also. So it's okay to not win a race. So, which I know some people cringe when they hear that, but
it's so true.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the interview, and I got some couple other things to talk to you privately about.
Okay.
So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, anytime.
Okay. Our next guest is Chris, and he'll tell us a little bit about the building of the cars. How are you doing, Chris?
Not too bad. How are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. Like I mentioned, building the cars part.
Wife and I, we got into Sport Compact because of my son. We purchased one and went down to Georgia and destroyed it, and I ended up with concussion. Wife and I decided we started building these things ourselves. We had all the technology and the equipment. We went and seen a lot of cars that weren't safe, and so we basically started building these cars. First thing we really believe in is safety. We don't like seeing cars that are the cages down where your head can hit the top and stuff. It's just dangerous for people. So we got into building cars. We do everything from just install cages to, if you want a complete roller, we even do that. I mean, take it home, paint it, and go to the track.
And they're basically the same, your basic car like back in the 60s how racing was.
Yeah. We bring them home, we strip them out, we weld everything back down in so it's solid and safe, and our motors we buy are nothing special. We just do a lot of maintenance to them and updating and go out and have a lot of fun.
And you raced some of the big money race down in Georgia, right?
Yeah, we actually went down a couple years ago with my son just to go down and play in November. Actually had a lot of fun, made the show. Lately, my wife and I haven't been able to make the November race, but we've been going down in February. If you want to see some fast compacts, those boys, they know their stuff. They are fast.
Yeah. And then we have the Texas boys, part of the group.
What's that?
The Texas guys as group members.
A Texas guy.
Meaning the Texas group is a sister group to the one we're in.
Okay.
And it's help each other out that way.
Yeah. We try to help anybody we can, really.
In some parts of the state, the class is growing, and others, it's questionable.
What's that?
Meaning some parts of the state of Iowa, it's growing, but in some parts, you only get like 5 cars.
I don't understand. I think a lot of the problem is, and it's throughout racing. I mean, it takes money to build these things and to run them, and nothing against the tracks. I know they're trying to make money too, but like we race for $100, and just for me and my wife to get in the pits and some fuel in the truck, we're spending $100. So, this class would grow if we had the funding behind it. I mean, just like any other class. There was an article a few years ago from a good friend of mine down in Georgia that said he would rather put up $5,000 to win for one of these than $20,000 for a late model, because if you put $5,000 up, you're going to get 70, 80 cars. Where you put 10 to 20,000 late models and you get 30 cars. The payback's actually better. And I'd be honest, these cars put on one heck of a good show. These people out here, if they really go and watch, these are the young guys. Like, I put a couple 16-year-olds in the car this year. They have a blast. They wouldn't be racing if it wasn't for somebody like me and this class. This is what this class is for.
Yeah, and I know on the half mile, my home track, it's some of the best racing.
Yeah, even a small track. I mean, any class you go to, and you're going to see one heck of a good show.
Yeah. And then some of the media, like being on national TV, kind of helps.
One gentleman I have that drove my car, he got the UNOH Youth Achievement Award this year in this car, or in his car, and he got like a $10,000 scholarship. There's a lot more to it, than just racing, and there's other awards out there that these kids can really get that help them in schooling and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you run one of the only NASCAR tracks around this area.
There's a NASCAR track. My home track is Corning, Iowa. It's 15 minutes from me. And then I-80 Nebraska at Greenwood, we run out there, and that's also a NASCAR track.
And their points are totally different than what we're used to.
Yeah, they go off of your percentage of how you finish and the percentage of cars per field. They call 16 cars a full field, and luckily both of these tracks have both got a good substantial amount of cars.
Mm-hmm. And didn't he represent the one kid? I forget his name. Represent a couple weeks ago the state of Iowa.
Tyler Hoover, yes, was his kid's name. He represented at Adams County Speedway, and basically the only track in Iowa is NASCAR. So yeah, he did represent them. He also represented I-80 because that was the two tracks he ran at.
And it's, of course, across the country. Isn't it Division 5?
Yes, it was Division 5 that he won, or won the Youth Achievement. He got second in points in the nation also. But yes, he runs against late model drivers, and it's all divisions for Youth Achievement. Youth Achievement is every class out there. There's 5 different classes. And then he was the best finish. He had an average of like 2.5 for his finish. He never got lower than a top 5 all year long.
That's pretty good.
Yep, 16 races in Corning, and he had 16 top 5s and 4 wins. And he won the first night of tradition. The second night got rained out.
Wasn't that the night they tried to race and the pits were completely...
The first night we got the show, and the second night it rained so much we never went back over. The prelude we did get there, but we never got on the track.
And of course you have the IMCA tracks is most of what we have.
Yes, we went up to Harlan and ran. I got second the night I went to Harlan up there next to Denny Burgum, first of the season. Tyler also went up, and he got third. My other son, Brian, got fourth. So we had a pretty good night tonight. We went up there. We've been to Stewart. We won the Ron Little Memorial this year with our car. We've made the show at Boone this year with our car. So we've had a really good year so far.
And Boone's always a crapshoot.
It is. It's a lot to do with where you draw.
Yeah.
And I'm not real good at that.
And it's only transfers so many, and it's...
I believe they transferred 2 out of the heats, and they transferred 2 out of the beat feature, and I won my beat.
Then the Room of Doom after.
Yeah, it's not too bad, actually. We passed through there pretty easily. We knew we were legal, so we weren't too worried.
Any plans coming up to go start the season anywhere?
Actually, the red car has been stripped down and is being reconstructed, and it'll be heading south in February back down to Screven, Georgia again.
That should be a Dirt Vision, maybe.
I believe, yeah, Dirt on Dirt or somebody, I think. I'm not positive. It's not a World of Outlaw show this year, so I'm not sure what they're doing.
And is it the same cars that run Charlotte? The group?
SCDRA is who it is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what group runs there.
But they had so many at Charlotte.
And as far as SCDRA, if we have any track guys listening to these broadcasts, I'll be honest, if somebody would be willing to step up, you would be putting on one heck of a show in Iowa. These guys are fast. Our guys would run with them, and I mean, like I have all the equipment to switch a car over, but I think it would be worth the money. You'd get a darn good car count for it.
I do follow that group, and I try to pay attention. We appreciate you.
Actually,
go ahead.
We've been actually building on a car tonight, so I mean, it's been my season never stops.
Yeah. We appreciate your time.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you would like more information on either group, check out Southern Sport Compacts on Facebook, and also We Love Sport Compacts on Facebook. Thanks for listening to this episode. Here's a little toast to all you dirt loving fans. To the best fans that don't care how many hours they have to drive to get a race or what tickets cost. They like beer and wear their favorite t-shirts. Here's to you, and see you in 2020.
Thanks for listening to another edition of the Racing Podcast.